Celtic were by far the better team right from the off.
Everything to prove.
It could be a turning point in the season in Celtic's favour.
St Mirren.
St Mirren have won the Premier Sports Cup.
The chance to strike another blow. Revenge.
Celtic outstanding in the first 45.
Or repeat.
This is St Mirren's moment.
Beasley will be unbelievable.
Celtic versus St Mirren. The Scottish Cup semi-final.
Another incredible match between these two.
This is Clyde 1 Super Scoreboard.
Good afternoon and welcome to Clyde 1 Super Scoreboard. It's day 2 of Scottish Cup semi-final weekend with Celtic and St Mirren facing off at Hampden. The winners know they'll face Neil Lennon's Dunfermline in the final, who beat rivals Falkirk on penalties yesterday. I'm Andrew Maclean. Joining me in the studio are Gordon Dalziel, Cammy and Hugh Keevins.
Is it fate in the form of a Neil Lennon Martin O'Neill Scottish Cup final at Hampden on May the 23rd? Or is it farce? Celtic losing to St Mirren at Hampden in a cup tie for the second time in the same season, a season in which St Mirren are trying to avoid relegation. Well, if it is a farce, then Celtic's season could be trophyless because they're third favourites to win the title. And Martin O'Neill last week said after the 1-0 win over St Mirren at Celtic Park in the league that his team's performance had been a bit worrying. The pressure is on Celtic. St Mirren have a free hit.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the game today. I wouldn't say it's a free hit for St Mirren. They're in the semi-final, so they'll want to desperately get to the final. They all know who they're going to face. That massive win for Dunfermline yesterday. But yeah, I totally agree with you. The pressure is on Celtic, but I think St Mirren will give them a really good game today.
And you've got to say whoever wins this afternoon will probably get in the 23rd of May in the final as favourites. But Neil Lennon will have something to say about that. I think we're in for a cracker. I think it'll be a tight game today. I'm looking forward to it. Conditions out there, perfect for football. Big crowd, atmosphere brilliant. Bring it on. And if you're a St Mirren fan, you've already been there. You've beaten Celtic in a cup final. You're going with confidence. I just think Celtic, Hampden Park, might just have too much fun.
And in the passing, congratulations to Neil Lennon for getting Dunfermline there. Think about it this way, Andrew. He has beaten 1/4 of the Premiership to get to the final. Hibs, Aberdeen, Falkirk. If he wins the cup, then he's beaten 1/3 of the Premiership. And this is a Dunfermline team who aren't within 20 points of St Johnstone, who lead the Championship. Well done, Lenny.
Yes, we will get all the reaction to that game between Dunfermline and Falkirk yesterday, but first we'll focus on Celtic against St Mirren at Hampden because Kickoff is just over 10 minutes away. Why don't we get the team news from the National Stadium? Scott Allen is alongside Roger Hannah, who's up first.
Yeah, and Neil Lennon's sitting directly in front of us. Andrew, he's got the best seat in the house to learn who's Dunfermline side will face here on May the 23rd. This, of course, is a repeat of the league clash at Parkhead 8 days ago. Alec Oxlade-Chamberlain's first half winner for the double chasing hoops that day. It might, of course, have been treble chasing hoops for St Mirren's 3-1 win in that Premier Sports Cup final here back in December. 74-year-old Martin O'Neill back in the Celtic dugout with Wilfred Nancy long gone after that final defeat, and he's up against 35-year-old Craig McLeish in charge of the Buddies after their cup winning gaffer Stephen Robinson's exit for Aberdeen. Hampden goal scorer Marcus Fraser absent from St Mirren through injury, but the 2-goal cup final hero Jonah Ayunga does start, and I can give you the team. Celtic making 3 changes from that league win last week. Out go match winner Oxlade-Chamberlain, the suspended Liam Scales, and Thomas Chavantara, who is out the 20-man squad altogether, presumably with an injury. In come Benjamin Arthur, Sebastian Tenecchia and Arne Engels making his first start for Celtic since February 11. So it's Rojami Sinisalo in goal. The back four, Anthony Ralston, Benjamin Arthur, Austin Trusty and Kieran Tierney. Midfield, Benjamin Nygren, Callum McGregor and Arne Engels, and a front three of Yang Hyun Jun, Daisen Maeda and Sebastian Tenecchia. On the bench, Doohan, Adamu and McCowan, Iheanacho, Oxlade-Chamberlain and Sarachi, Hatate, Murray and Forrest. St Mirren, one change from the game at Celtic Park. but it's a huge win. The goalkeeper Jamal George is out. He went off injured at Parkhead 8 days ago. It's not that injury that keeps him out. He suffered a fresh blow in training on Thursday and does not make the squad. That means Ryan Mullen, a former Celtic youth keeper, makes just his second start for St Mirren. The 24-year-old's only previous appearance, an 8-2 League Cup win over Annan last July, when he was beaten, Andrew, twice by that famed Scottish football goal scorer trialist. Undoubtedly the biggest game in Mullen's career today. The St Mirren team has got Ryan Mullen in goal. The same back three: Liam Donnelly, Ali Colgate and Miguel Freckleton. Across the middle, Mark O'Hara, Killian Phillips, Jacob Devaney, Alan Campbell and Declan John. And the front pairing, Mikael Mandron and that man, Jonah Ayunga. On the bench, Richardson, Tanzer and McMenamin, Idowu, Calvin and Douglas, Young, Etete and 17-year-old third choice keeper Grant Tamasavicius. Only 3 appearances for St Mirren's B team in the Challenge Cup at the start of this season. The ref is Matthew McDermott, the VAR, and if you want an Omen St Mirren fan, it's Kevin Clancy, the man who was in the middle when you won the Premier Sports Cup final in December. And with me here, and it's just a pleasure, Andrew, to have a former midfield maestro turned pundit who's allowed into Hampden and doesn't have to watch this game from a truck in the car park. Scott Allen, what do you think the game's going to give us today?
You beat me to it there with that one. I think Neil Lennon's actually doing the commentary for one of the broadcasters because he's not allowed in to handle that. Listen, I think for me, Celtic wins the game as favourites. I think just looking at how both teams have set up, I think Maeda through the middle, I think that'll be Celtic looking to stretch in behind that rigid back three, back five. It will be at times you expect Celtic to have. Well, maybe not. If you look at last week's second half, Devaney for me was a real driving force in that St Mirren's midfield. But I do think on this occasion Celtic will look to control the ball, try and use Maeda's strength and his pace in behind that back line of St Mirren, and they'll take confidence in the second half, but they have to carry more of a threat. No Chivanchara, as you said, on the bench, whether that's injury or just because of performances we won't quite know as of yet. Engels come in, I do think it's a massive boost for Celtic, especially from set piece situations. You know how good he can be on the dead ball situations, but for me Celtic win as favourites, but we just never quite know if we're looking at how Celtic have performed over 90 minutes throughout the course of these seasons. And how big a setback is it for St Mirren not to have Jamal George in goal? Huge game for young Ryan Mullen. It's a huge game, and these are the sort of games I think Ryan Mullen sitting there waiting on the wings to try and get the opportunity for. So as you said, former Celtic youth player, he was there when I was at Celtic at the time, and this is a huge opportunity. Can he grasp it? Neil Lennon and Dunfermline await the winners next month, Andrew. It's all to play for at Hampden. Celtic against St Mirren.
Yeah, kick-off not too far away. We'll go back and get the latest, the final bit of build-up from Roger and Scott very shortly. What stands out to you in terms of the team selection there, Gordon?
The fact that Engels is back in. He has been a big miss, and you're always a big miss when you're not performing well, are you? You know, I've always said that if it was my choice, I would have taken the 25 million for him. But he's back in today, and I think the guys hit upon it there. His delivery from set plays is on the money. It's one of his strengths. He's really good. That could be a big factor for Celtic today, that midfield battle.
Yeah, we'll go over to our resident midfielder that we've got over at Hampden in Scott Allen. How much do you think Celtic have missed Arne Engels in the last couple of months, Scott?
Yeah, I think he's one of these players where yes, he does have criticism because he hasn't maybe gave performances week in, week out, but there's no getting away from it. He can produce big moments and has done for Celtic. I think over dead balls, I know people think it's easy for everybody just to put a ball into the box, but when it's come in with quality, it really gives the defender something to go and get on the end of. So I do think that adds a bit of spark there, a bit of quality in amongst Neger and Callum McGregor, because for Celtic over the last month or so, the quality in midfield have been overrun at times when teams have made it man for man. Physically, for me, they've been dominated. You only have to look as far as back as last week, that second half, where St Mirren probably had more possession than they've ever had at Celtic Park, and that would be a real worrying sign for Martin O'Neill and his coaching staff, because that game's usually won in midfield, especially in there. But when any time Celtic have been made it into a man for man, they just haven't quite handled that. It'll be interesting to see how Craig McLeish and this St Mirren team does look, because they have changed their style of play. I'm still looking at that Celtic team thinking that you can get at them. If you turn them, you need to make them defend. They've got mistakes in them. And that's maybe why St Mirren came out victorious in the League Cup final, because of the style of play that Stephen Robinson had put together at St Mirren. So it'll be interesting to see, can they now carry a threat against this Celtic side, playing a better style of football. And ultimately we'll see at the end of this game whether it goes to extra time or not. We're yet to see, but the midfield battle between both teams is going to be huge in this game for me.
Also interested in the inclusion of Sebastian Tenecte, who has been in and out the Celtic team all season, has shown flashes what he's capable of, Cammy, but hasn't made it off the bench in Celtic's last 2 games. All of a sudden he's thrown straight into the starting lineup today.
Listen, he'll be absolutely delighted he's in the starting lineup. I think you're right in what you said there. Showed flashes, and he does that. He can show flashes. He has got quality, but it's not been on a consistent basis for Celtic when he's been given the opportunity. But listen, today's a semi-final. They'll be looking to him, Yang, to go and get at this St Mirren defence. So yeah, it's a massive game for him today. Is he going to turn up? We'll wait and see.
Celtic get the tombola out when they pick the team, particularly up front. Maeda through the middle. Maeda has scored 1 goal in his last 22 games. 1 goal in 22 games. And he's through the middle. Shivanchara, whether he's injured or whatever is the cause for his non-appearance, he's not doing it for Celtic anyway. So they're taking a punt on Maeda. Nothing other than a punt. And that's where Celtic's problems have lain all season long. Up front, cannot find a regular, reliable goal scorer. They're only there today because Junior Adamu, who's on the bench, came up with a late lifesaver against Dundee at Celtic Park. So that's the way Celtic are.
If Celtic are to score, they're going to have to score past Ryan Mullen. How will Ryan Mullen be feeling? Only 3 previous appearances for St Mirren. Has only made 2 Premiership appearances in total in his career. Has spent a lot of time at Morton. Was at Clyde for a period of time as well. What a big day this is for him.
Yeah, huge day for him. Scotty touched on it. They'll have been waiting in the wings for an opportunity. He probably didn't expect an opportunity like this in a semi-final in such a high-profile game. But listen, these are the games as a goalkeeper you can win your team the game. He needs to perform today. Celtic will get opportunities, they'll get chances, and it's a big day for him. He'll be feeling the pressure at the moment, but once the game starts, hopefully for him, he'll relax into it. He'll get a good first touch of the ball, but it's a massive day for a young goalkeeper, especially who hasn't played a lot of football, and no games anywhere near in the magnitude of today's game.
Goalkeeper was a story yesterday. Aston Oxborough, on loan to Dunfermline, and
wasn't even making matchday squads at Motherwell at one point this season, and all of a sudden now helping his team to a Scottish Cup final. Yeah. Good story.
As I say, I thought yesterday's game summed up our season. There you have a team from the Championship, but not within 20 points of the leaders of the Championship, beating their 3rd Premiership team to get to the Cup final. That sums up our season.
Well, St Mirren takes some belief from their performance against Celtic last weekend. It was a defeat at Celtic Park. It was a narrow defeat, but played some good stuff at times.
I think where they'll take the confidence is they've been here before in the final. And let's not be kidding, that day, it wasn't a fluke, it wasn't luck. They deserved it. They were excellent on the day. Look, I know that Celtic aren't firing in all cylinders just now, and they're coming in for a bit of criticism. You look at the goals up front, where they're going to get the goals from, everything, the firepower. But I just think with the fact that Martin O'Neill there now, semi-final, and if Celtic win it, then they'll get as huge favourites to beat Dunfermline. So I think they'll just have too much.
Well, the teams are making their way out the tunnel at the National Stadium. Let's go back and speak to Roger Hanna and Scott Allen, who will take us up to kick-off.
Yeah, just looking down, Callum McGregor and Mark O'Hara leading out the 2 teams onto the Hampden playing surface. A huge crowd at Hampden this afternoon. St Mirren so well represented away to our left hand side. Celtic supporters on 3/4 of the sides of this Hampden Stadium. They want to see Martin O'Neill back in a Scottish Cup final. His first winners trophy back in his first season in 2001. Jackie McNamara getting 2 and Henry Larsson getting 1 and a win against Hibernian. And he's only lost 1 Cup final in his time, Scottish Cup final in his time as Celtic manager, and he'd love to end his 3rd spell in charge of the Hoops against his prodigy Neil Lennon and Dunfermline back here on May the 23rd. I'll run through the team one more time. Celtic will Jeremy Stinney-Sallow in goal. It's a back 4, Anthony Ralston, Benjamin Arthur, Austin Trusty and Kieran Tierney. Midfield, Benjamin Maclean, Callum McGregor the skipper, and the 5th again Arnie Engels, and up top Yang Yun Jun and Sebastian Tenecte will flank Dyson Maida on the bench, Duhan, Adamu, McCowan, Ahinacho, Oxley, Chamberlain, Sarachi, Hattati, Murray and Forrest. As for St Mirren, Ryan Mullen, as we said, a 24-year-old backup goalie, in for the injured Jamal George. It's a back three of Liam Donnelly, Alex Gogic and Miguel Creppleton. Across the middle, the captain, Mark O'Hara, Killian Phillips, Jacob Devaney, Alan Campbell and Declan John. And up top, Michael Mandron with Jonah Younger, a man who scored twice here against Celtic in the Premier Sports Cup final in December. On the bench, Richardson, Sander and McMenamin, Edoru, Calvin and Douglas, Young, Etete and Camos Devises. Scott Allen put lightning strike twice this afternoon for St Mirren.
Oh, listen, the St Mirren fans, St Mirren players, the coaching staff will hope to produce the Hampden exploits again against Celtic. I just feel it will be a different game today. I think as long as you can stay in the game, give yourself chances to go and score goals. That's one thing they have to do today. They have to be more creative and take more care in the final third. Celtic on the other hand, I know the Dalziel was speaking about Maeda playing up front. I just feel he might be the guy to stretch St Mirren, and then that frees up the 1v1 for Konecki on the opposite sides to come in and maybe get his shots away. We've seen him score some fabulous goals this season. He would love to do it in a semi-final.
There's huge energy in that St Mirren midfield. You saw it last week at Celtic. Jacob Devaney playing so well, Alan Campbell in there, Killian Phillips we know about. Well, Celtic's midfield is aided by the return of Arnie Engels. He's not played since the Livingston game in the February 11. He gives them more dynamism in there.
He does, but I think the most important thing for me, Roger, in that kind of match-up, Celtic have got to keep the ball a lot better. I think when you're playing against energy and physicality, you've got to make them run. You've got to show composure on the ball. That's one part of Celtic's game where I feel it's not been as strong this year, and that's that real composure and calmness on the ball, and that comes with the pressure that's been on the club this season.
Liam Scales has been a mainstay at up back four for Celtic this season. He's suspended, he misses out. Benjamin Arthur and Austin Trusty rarely seen together. How will they do against a younger Mandron?
Oh, they're going to know they're going to be in a physical battle. That was the one area of the park that really caused them problems in that League Cup final. It's just up to Hugh and that. Can they make the balls, they channel balls? Can they get players to back them up and put balls in the box and make Celtic defend? That would be my team talk. Can you make that Celtic backline defend?
Andrew Benjamin Negrin, 19 goals this season, is over the ball. We're about to get underway in the second Scottish Cup semi-final. Neil Lennox and Fairman await the winner. It's Celtic against St Mirren and we're underway.
Clyde 1 Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy. Get set for the season with expert pharmacy support.
Yeah, the sun is shining at the National Stadium, and I think I speak for all of us when I say that I hope it's a slightly better game than Dunfermline against Falkirk was yesterday.
You can have a bet on that right now, because it has to be a better game, because that was diabolical. But it contained a dramatic finish in the penalty shootout, and it contained one of the stories of the season, with a side fourth in the Championship beating their third Premiership team in the Scottish Cup to get to the final. So bad games can produce good stories.
It was an incredible day for Dunfermline yesterday, and you mentioned it before, Hugh, that they've not had an easy run to get to that semi-final and to get to the final now when you look at the teams that they've beat. So Neil Lennon's done a fantastic job there, and you could see after the game how much it meant to him.
And it is the best possible start for Celtic.
Goal Flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Less than a minute on the clock and Dyson Maeda is on the score sheet. There was focus before the game on Ryan Mullen, the St Mirren goalkeeper, who is in from the start because of the injured Jamal George, just his fourth appearance of the season. But Dyson Maeda has managed to nick in, rob the goalkeeper of the ball and put it in the back of the net to put Celtic 1-0 up.
I spoke about it before, the first touch. He wanted a good first touch. Again, he's been played the ball back to him. He's taken a touch out of your feet. You know that Dyson Maeda is going to close you down. That's part of his game. He closes them down, blocks the clearance, and it goes in the net. It's an absolute disaster for Mullen. There's no getting away from it. For me, he just puts his foot through it, relaxes himself into the game. He takes a touch, quite a heavy one at that. Maeda blocks it, and it's a disaster.
Absolutely incredible. Yeah. Incredible. The easiest start, we're talking about Maeda up front, but Hugh was touching on his record there with the goals. He'll not get an easier goal. I'm watching the goalkeeper. He thinks he's got too much time. He must, as much as he's not played a lot of football. The one thing you know is, you take a touch, he's got to close you down very quickly. You've got to be aware of that. Cammy was right. He had to get his first touch. He had to settle into the game. He'll be looking at this game just now, and he'll be thinking, I hope this just swallows me up here, you know, because I have made such a disaster of a start, and if I was Celtic, I'd be putting ball into the box as quickly as I possibly can to test them again.
He has got to, as best he can, rise above what has just happened, because as Roger Hanna told us, the replacement goalkeeper on the bench is a kid, an inexperienced rookie kid with hardly any game experience at all as a St Mirren player. So Ryan Mullen just has to swallow hard and get on with this. But he forgot about Dyson Maeda being the Duracell bunny.
But you can't forget though, Hugh, you know your players you're facing. He does it every single game. He closes the goalkeeper down, and as I mentioned, for me, the first thing you do as a inexperienced goalkeeper, you send that straight up to your two big strikers. First time you play in their half, you don't take any chances, and I can't believe he's done that. He'll be so disappointed, and listen, it's going to be a huge test of character now. I've been there myself in high profile games and made mistakes. It's really difficult to deal with. And as Dad said, if you're Celtic, you're throwing everything on top of the goalkeeper now.
Did Dyson Maeda do that at Ibrox earlier this season? He scored at Ibrox within seconds. Was it this season or was it last season?
I think it was last season. It was that long ball over the top, and he sort of chased down James Tavernier, who sort of kicked the ball off him, if you like, when he was trying to clear it. But it was even quicker than the goal we've seen there.
Well, you know, Dyson Maeda has got Celtic off to the best possible start. If that doesn't relax them, then I don't know what will, because they've gone into this game with Martin O'Neill saying their display against St Mirren last week in the league was a bit worrying. We've had this orchestrated campaign against Callum McGregor. Is it time for the Celtic captain to stand down? It's a big afternoon for Callum McGregor. He's got to lead Celtic into the cup final, and the sensational stories just keep on coming.
I was going to go for a Celtic win. First goal scorer Maeda.
We didn't even get the chance to do predictions. That is how quickly. And I'm not going to take any predictions unless any of you are going to go for St Mirren after that. But
who were you going for, Hugh? Just out of curiosity.
I was going to say 2-1 Celtic, but I've no idea who'll score. And then, you know, the man with 1 goal in 22 games is on the scoring sheet inside 1 minute.
That will certainly settle any nerves that may have been there for the Celtic supporters or any of the players, because we know the season that Celtic have had, they've had plenty of games that haven't gone their way. This is a massive game, especially when you take into account what happened in the League Cup final against the same opposition. But that will just settle any potential nerves that would have been there.
It's a perfect start. It's a dream start. Martin O'Neill and the Celtic players, they'll probably not believe they've been gifted a goal like that so early in this semi-final. And that's the one thing you don't want to do just now, is especially the way Celtic have come under a bit of criticism for their style of play and everything about it, and people quite fancied that St Mirren could have another upset this afternoon. You don't want to give them any encouragement, but they've just gave them the biggest encouragement they've ever wanted to do. And Maeda, let's give credit to him. As much as we have a look at the goalkeeper, He's seen the goalkeeper. He knew he was taking his time. He went there, he took a gamble, and it paid off, and he's put his team 1-up.
Just watching a few moments ago, Miguel Freckleton playing the ball back to Ryan Mullen again. How would Ryan Mullen have been feeling when that ball is rolling towards him? Yeah,
listen, any ball that comes to him now, the next 10 minutes is key for him. Anything that comes his way, whether it's a pass back or a shot or a cross that he needs to deal with, he needs to really focus, and as I said, he'll be really disappointed with it. He can't change it now. I mentioned the character of him for the rest of the game. It's going to be huge, but because Celtic will know that he's vulnerable at this moment in time, so they'll be, as Daz said, playing balls on top of him, forcing the ball back to him, chasing everything down. So it's a long way to go.
Yeah, there will be big disappointment for Craig McLeish as well, because it's a massive day for him. He's said publicly that he would love to get the St Mirren job on a full-time basis. He's only 35 years old. He's been given interim charge until the end of the season. He's had some good results. He's got St Mirren playing a different style. He's not going to be judged solely on this game. St Mirren have some massive games to make sure they try and get away from 11th place as far away as they possibly can. But that will be a big disappointment for him.
I think though at the back of his mind he's going to have to say, how can you possibly legislate for a start like that? You can't. It's happened. The game has to go on. The Dazzler always says, if you're going to lose a goal, lose one early. Well, they've certainly lost it early, but
they took it to extreme.
They have to see what they can do to threaten Sinisalo's goal. and Ryan Mullen has to get a good save under his belt to calm him down a bit. But that moment will live in his head forever. But the game of football getting played to your cup semi-final, the ball got to get over it.
We've seen it again there. His first touch isn't the greatest.
No, it's not good. No.
He puts himself under a little bit of pressure. I think he's too busy looking to see where he's going to kick it to, and he just completely doesn't see Maeda. And all of a sudden he just robs him.
Maeda's the two centre backs are sort of 25 yards out. I think if Mullen had gave himself 3 or 4 yards further back, then he's allowed to take that touch, and it would allow him the time. But he's far too casual, and again, being the first minute in the game, I think he should just be sending up. You've got 2 physical strikers up there, send it up to them and keep it away from your goal.
Celtic have yet to follow your advice, Dazzler. They haven't hung one in on the goalkeeper to see.
There's going to be a
is.
strike from distance here, and Celtic almost getting a second. Arne Engels striking the outside of the post with a low shot with his instep from around 20 yards out. Ryan Mullen was diving low to his left. Not sure he would have got there. It was a decent strike by Arne Engels, but goes wide after hitting the post.
Yeah, he's never getting there. I'm a bit concerned just watching the opening 8-9 minutes here. St Mirren are very, very deep. And they're inviting the pressure onto them, and Engels there had all the time in the world, just opened his side foot, and he's very unlucky. And another goal here, I think we'd see the end of St Mirren in the semi-final.
Yeah. And they're trying to play out from the back again, and Celtic are pressing really high and fast and making it difficult for St Mirren to get out. They lost the ball, unfortunately. They've got it back, but they need to be aware of how high Celtic are pressing, because they'll hurt them. If they steal the ball high up the pitch, they're going to hurt them. Because
it is also a different style for these St Mirren players, and they've been used to playing under Stephen Robinson. Craig McLeish has come in. He wants them to play a bit more what you saw from Stephen Robinson's side, and they were excellent at it and found so much success with it. They were a bit more direct. They won a lot of second balls. They have 2 physical strikers up there who will battle and make it a fight with the central defenders. Craig McLeish wants them to play a bit more, but it still is very early in him trying to instill this into this group of players. Yeah, and the understanding's got to be there from certainly the goalkeeper and your back line of how you play out. But I think there's certain times you can play as well. It's a semi-final, we need to remember. And I think the first 10 minutes in the game is so important that you don't concede. Obviously St Mirren have now gifted Celtic a goal, but I just feel as if there's the times you can play out from the back. You don't need to be predictable and play all the time. But I feel as if they're potentially playing themselves into a little trap.
I'm a bit surprised with St Mirren. I thought, especially early on, I thought they'd have went a little bit more direct. They've got 2 big guys up there. It's at Hampden. Try and just turn them, try and win flick-ons, and it takes your defence up the park. Just now St Mirren are going deeper and deeper and really inviting Celtic onto them. And they just need to be careful here that they don't give away a second goal, because as I say there, you're testing the goalkeeper, and he looks like me going to a bar on a Saturday night. Really, really nervous.
Yeah, he's just shelled one out of play there, Ryan Mullen. I'm not sure he was happy with the pass back to him. Was on his wrong side, essentially.
And it was also fired at him, so he had to take a touch there. He had no option. I think it was Mark O'Hara who potentially fired it back to him. But the Celtic press is straight away. They're on him. They're going after him straight away. So I felt as if he'd done okay with that, because it wasn't the best of balls back to him. And again, as defenders, you need to understand your goalkeeper's made a mistake. I wouldn't be going back to your goalkeeper every single time at this moment in the game.
I don't think he'll be thanking you for it.
No.
You know what I mean? I can hear him shouting for here, keepers away.
Well, Sinisalo's just I used to do that.
Keepers away.
Sinisalo's just shanked one out the park as well. So I mean, you're always accused of being a dinosaur, but the emphasis on passing the ball around your own penalty area is lost on me, and it's cost St Mirren dearly already. But they haven't been hanging balls in under Ryan Mullen's head yet.
That was a strange moment there where the ball was being played over the head of Mark O'Hara. A throw-in, I think, has been given. The ball got out of play initially, but Mark O'Hara jumped up and caught the ball, thinking it was going over his head and out of play. It looked as if it was definitely in play, but a free kick's not even been given for a handball.
No.
It's been given as a throw-in, despite the fact that Mark O'Hara looked quite clearly on the pitch when he tried to catch that ball with both hands.
Andrew, I would have to advise you not to be critical of the referee, or you'll be in a taxi outside Hampden doing your next game.
Maybe you just turn around and shout at his goalkeeper. This is what you do. Try copying me.
Yeah, that was a strange moment. That Because surely the cameras are now focusing on Mark O'Hara, but surely the referee, Matthew McDermott, sees that. This is bad news for St Mirren, because Ryan Mullen, so much focus on him, he's now gone to ground.
I'm not being funny, but you would have to come off a broken leg if I'd made a mistake like that. You've got to stay on. You can't come off.
No, that just looks so bad.
And also, you've got a young kid on the bench as well, so you need to take that into consideration. It's disastrous.
This is. I bet you the young goalkeeper's round going, get up.
Yeah, 17-year-old Grant Tamosavicius.
He's getting killed.
Who has been called back. And if you thought it was some story that Ryan Mullen was going to be playing in this semi-final, who had only made 3 previous appearances for St Mirren at the age of 24, Grant Tamosavicius is 17 years old. 2nd of September 2008, never made a senior appearance in his life, and looks as if he is going to come on at Hampden for St Mirren against Celtic.
Well, as I say, the sensational stories just keep on coming. We are not in a position to say what is wrong with Ryan Mullen, but it's astonishing. The kid can smile.
He looks quite relaxed anyway.
But, how many advantages does Celtic want this afternoon? There are a goal to the good, and now this young man he's younger than 4 of my grandchildren.
So, he's not even got a pair of gloves.
It's just an incredible story. A real. Again, I don't know if Ryan Mullen's got his leg caught when he's actually tried to clear it, but they're certainly signalling that he's going to come off. Which
can a psychological blow like that, can that cause any physical damage?
I'm
as I say to you, if I make a mistake like that, I'm staying on the pitch unless I'm physically getting stretchered off, and I purely would be saying to my defenders, don't pass me back because I've got a sore knee or whatever it is. Do you know what I'm saying?
It does look bad for the goalkeeper. It really does, especially you've made the howler. You don't look confident at all. He's had 1 or 2 back passes, doesn't look confident, and then all of a sudden it's the old, oops, something's not right here.
I'm looking at the kid. Good luck to him.
Yeah, good luck to him, yep.
But it looks like one of the ball boys coming on. That's how young he looks.
I don't even think he can reach a bar. Just hit over his head.
Like the old days.
Could remember the old days, the goalkeeper, he just used to hit it high and it would go over him.
What a moment this is for the young goalkeeper though, coming on.
Again, 15 minutes on the clock. Grant Tamosavicius comes on for his St Mirren debut. He's made 3 appearances for their B team in the Challenge Cup this season against lower league opposition, and Ryan Mullen goes off.
Well, he just looks like a man who wants the earth to open up and swallow him.
I've been there, Hugh, I've been there.
Yeah. But I repeat, how many advantages do Celtic want now? They've got basically. How long is he out of school? Is he out of school? Is he still at school?
He's not even done his homework.
So Celtic have to capitalise on a massive advantage.
This is certainly, you'll be throwing balls into the box.
Yeah. Again, it's such a disadvantage for the young goalie as well, because he's not done a warm-up. I've came on as a sub-goalkeeper, and it is difficult because you can't get a proper warm-up that you're used to doing. Listen, I hope he does well. Good luck to him.
Could it help in a way that he's not had time to think about it? If he knew he was starting, in the build-up to the game, it'll have been running through his head for a few days, whereas he's probably not thought he's got a chance of playing, and all of a sudden he's just been thrust into it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the best thing for him that he's not had time to think about it, because this is a moment that at the start of the week Shamal George was training. He would have never ever have expected to be on the pitch today.
But Celtic won up and haven't really apart from Engels hitting the post, haven't done a great deal in front of goal nearly 20 minutes in.
Yeah, so Grant Tamosavicius with his first touch of the ball, goal kick, which goes to the halfway line, headed back in his direction and comes all the way back to him with Dalziel Maeda lurking, and he takes absolutely no chances there. Again, no touch, just gets
it's
out
a
the
young
park.
Goalkeeper. The defence have got to realise that this is a 17-year-old kid that's just came on. Why are you passing it back to him? Why are you putting him under any unneeded pressure? And I'm just amazed at some of the players, the way that even when Ryan Mullen was on after the mistake, they were still constantly passing it back to him. You've got to understand what's happened within the game.
Well, St Mirren trying to press at the other end. Viljami Sinisalo just decides to go long himself, doesn't decide to take a touch and invite any more pressure. I think that's going to be a free kick to Celtic in the centre circle. Alex Gogic just barging into Callum McGregor.
That's the last thing St Mirren need. They don't need any brainstorms from Alex Gogic, and he gets sent off.
Actually, I think it might have been Alan Campbell there. I was doing him a disservice.
It wasn't Gogic. I'll stick up for my friend.
Until you have to.
No, it wasn't him. It was Campbell in the middle of the park. But we're just looking at Craig McLeish there. I wonder what's going through his mind. Thinking, we came here with no fear, we've beat Celtic before. All of a sudden you're a goal down to a mistake, your goalkeeper's off and you've got a 17-year-old on. There's
ball back to him once again. Daizen Maeda closing him down, but just puts his foot through it, and I think that probably is just the right course of action for the first period of him coming on, isn't it?
Yeah, and again he had a goal kick and they set up as if they were going to pass out from the back again, but he did play long. For me, the message as a manager at this moment in time would be, let's squeeze up, let's not take any chances, let the kid have an opportunity to feel his way into the game, don't put him under any unnecessary pressure. And I think that would only be fair that the defenders and the management staff realise that listen, we've gifted them a goal, so let's try and play in Celtic's half for a period.
Celtic have been the dominant team on the ball as Grant Tamasavicius gives that one away. Not as close to the goal, but it's his first save as well. Benjamin Nygren just digging that out from underneath his feet was never really going to trouble Tamasavicius, but catches it pretty simply.
I think he picks the wrong option there. If you look at, is it Yang to his right? And even Maeda's made a terrific run. But he's the kind of guy, you've seen him up at Dens Park, he'll try and steal any goal possible, because that's where he is just now. Scored 19 goals this season, so you can't blame him for having a goal. But for me, the next goal will probably put this semi-final to bed.
I mean, St Mirren's goal hasn't been peppered by Celtic. Celtic have dominated the ball so far, but it's not as if they've been cutting St Mirren open at will. Is that something that St Mirren can kind of hold on to in the opening 20 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, so you can't legislate for Maeda's goal. It's happened, but nearly 20 minutes have gone by since then, and Celtic, apart from hitting the post through Arne Engels, not done a great deal.
The only thing I'd say is they look very comfortable. You know,
That's it. Celtic have bought themselves time essentially to not have to put the pressure on St Mirren and not have to rush things.
St Mirren have hardly been in Celtic's half as well, so you need to remember that they've absolutely had no threat on the Celtic goal at all yet. So I think Celtic are very comfortable in the game at this moment in time.
Well, 20 minutes gone at the National Stadium. It's Celtic 1, St Mirren 0. Daizen Maeda with the goal. 55 seconds into the match was a mistake by goalkeeper Ryan Mullen, who was the stand-in goalkeeper for Shamal George. He's since gone off injured. 17-year-old Grant Tamasavicius is now in goal for the Buddies, who have all the work to do at Hampden.
You'd have to say, it's a pretty unique story. I'm trying to remember a sequence of events like it. Martin O'Neill still has a look of concern on his face, but fate is shoving him towards Neil Lennon on the 23rd of May, the Sorcerer and the Apprentice, as it will be known by then. But Celtic have still got work to do.
Yeah, Celtic still need to complete the job. Neil Lennon was asked about the prospect of, but Celtic could be in here again. Daizen Maeda with a strike and Tamasavicius with a save low to his right. That will give him a bit of confidence, won't it?
Yeah, it was nice play from Celtic. Nice little ball in behind for Maeda to get on, but he gets his angles all right. A really good save across to his right hand side, and as you say, that'll give him real confidence.
What I was going to say was Neil Lennon was asked yesterday post-match about the prospect of coming up against Martin O'Neill, and he prefaced it by saying, Celtic will have a tough game against St Mirren, and St Mirren have every chance of getting through, but if he does go on to face Martin O'Neill, says he's already feeling emotional about the prospect, because never faced Martin O'Neill as a manager. Of course, the relationship that the two of them had together when Neil Lennon played for Martin O'Neill, it would be quite the story.
I remember seeing Neil Lennon's debut for Celtic, Dens Park. The peroxide blonde Neil Lennon as he was then. And Martin O'Neill paid tribute to him at the weekend when he said, if I hadn't signed Neil Lennon from Leicester City, I might not be sitting here as Celtic manager. He was outstanding for Martin O'Neill, part of that terrific squad that went all the way to a European final in Seville. But it will be a very emotional moment. It can't be any other way. And if it's Celtic, then the storyline is written and taken care of. Roger Hanna is rubbing his hands in glee, like every other old hack. And that will be the story, the master and the apprentice.
There was also the added layer that Neil Lennon's final game for Celtic was a Scottish Cup final against Dunfermline, and he was hooked after about 55 minutes or so, and wasn't too happy, I don't think, with Gordon Strachan.
No, he contemplated, he's said it before, it's been written about, he contemplated going up the tunnel and out the front door of Hampden, still in his Celtic strip. Wouldn't have bothered Lenny, but he was so dismayed by being taken off. All part of the storyline building up. It's a Hollywood finish to the season. Celtic have to complete the job today, though, in order to make that event a forthcoming attraction.
Yeah, and there's a St Mirren goal you just walking by Asda, and his way out. You just a penny for his thoughts. He must have been looking forward to a real afternoon, an opportunity, and all of a sudden 20 odd minutes in, you're sitting there and you're thinking, please, can somebody bail me out here this afternoon?
Listen, it's a lonely place for Ryan Mullen at this moment in time, and hopefully the staff and the team are getting behind him, because it is, I've been there, where you make a mistake in a high profile game and you need to deal with it mentally, so I'm pretty sure he'll be getting supported, because listen, it's one of these things, as a goalkeeper you make mistakes, just in such a big occasion and so early in the game, and then it goes all wrong that he has to go off injured as well. So it's been a real disaster this afternoon for him.
It could be maybe sort of just as tough, if not tougher, actually going off and sitting watching things, because you've not got that distraction of playing in the game. You're probably just sitting there. It's the only thing that's running through his mind at the moment.
Yeah, and again, it's as I said, it's a lonely place when you make a high profile mistake, so you're hoping your teammates get round you, but you're right, listen, you would probably much prefer to be on the pitch to try and affect the game in a positive manner, but
Cammy, this club also have 5 games to stay in the division, and it could be Shamal George has got the moon boot on, doesn't look ready for football anytime soon. Ryan Mullen's gone off with what we'll find out about later,
an emergency loan, that's what will happen.
Well, the 17-year-old, are you going to go the last 5 games with him in goal?
No, I think the manager would try and get somebody in with a little bit of experience, and it would be that emergency loan, because as you see, they've got huge games coming up.
What are you doing at this time?
I know. What are you doing, Cammy? Listen, between now and middle of May.
Well, to be fair, if you listen to him for 10 minutes there, he's not sold it well. I've made mistakes in that. so let me just say, I don't think I'll be phoning Cammy.
Quite incredible that in the first minute of this game there was more to talk about than the full 90 minutes anyway. It sort of picked up in the last 10 minutes of extra time. There was more happening. The penalties were eventful at Hampden yesterday, but not maybe not the best spectacle for the 90 minutes in the first part of extra time.
Very unfortunate, particularly from a Falkirk perspective, because they received so much praise when they confirmed their place in the top 6, back-to-back promotions, then top 6. They were the talk of the Steamy, and John Maclean was being mentioned on Saturday morning in connection with the Celtic job, and then everything fell apart. The stories of the season: Calvin Miller subbed, Barney Stewart subbed. If it could go wrong, it did go wrong for Falkirk, and for me, Andrew, I thought it had the look of an afternoon that might affect them from now until the end of the season. It was that bad. It was described by John Maclean as rubbish. His word, not mine.
Is that manager of the year gone now, Hugh?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, because if he probably got into the Scottish Cup final as well as the top 6 finished and the way they've produced, he must have been up in the running.
It shouldn't take away from what's been an incredible season for Falkirk, straight off the back of a second promotion. They then get top 6 Scottish Cup semi-final, but that will sting for a while.
It'll sting because of 2 things. You're playing a team that's in a lower league than you. It is a rivalry. The fans don't like each other. It got a great opportunity to go there yesterday, and everybody thought the way that Falkirk play football, Hampden would have suited them down to a T. But well done, Neil Lennon. Doesn't matter how scrappy the game or how bad it is, it's all about getting yourself in the final, and they achieved that.
Falkirk is just a missed opportunity for them, a hugely missed opportunity, because as you say, if they get the top 6, obviously they've got into the top 6, if they get into a final, which you then can go and win, of course you can, It just, I feel as if it would have been perfect for their season. They've had an excellent season, but listen, it certainly puts a little bit of a dampener on their season. And Hugh's right, how do they react to this? Because they've got 5 games. They're obviously trying to push up the league as well, so it'll be interesting to see how they go. Dunfermline
could potentially have 10 games left to play this season, which will be a scheduling nightmare for the SPFL, because they secure a playoff place. They could potentially be playing, 2 quarterfinals, 2 semi-finals, 2 legs of a final, and have a Scottish Cup final, and they've still got 3 championship games left to go. At this stage, the playoff final promotion relegation one is normally around the weekend of the Scottish Cup final. It's sort of Sunday, Tuesday, I think. So I don't think that's going to go down well with the schedulers at the SPFL.
Well, Neil Lennon was already upset before the Cup semi-final yesterday. They mentioned the congestion and against Airdrie in the game before Falkirk in the Cup. He had rested several players and made no apology for it. That's the price of success.
Yeah, I actually think the games are scheduled to be either side of the Scottish Cup final. So the 21st of May would be the first leg, the 23rd would be the Scottish Cup final, and the 25th would be the second leg. There's no way that Dunfermline would be allowed to play those games either side, surely.
No.
But that is a problem for another time, because they may or may not get to the playoff final, as St Mirren have a very rare foray forward. It's Jonah Ayunga from the edge of the box, shot deflected and out for a St Mirren corner.
It's probably the best way of getting a goal for me today, because they've got a bit of height in their team. If they can get a bit of quality in there and cause a few problems, as we said, it was nice to see them just getting up the park, trying to get a breather for their back men as well, and let's see if they can get a bit of quality in and cause Celtic problems from this corner kick.
Yeah, they do have plenty of height in their team, St Mirren. They can cause issues from set pieces.
It's all about the quality of the delivery, though, as Daz said. If they can get a good ball into the box, it'll cause Celtic problems defensively, because you're right, they've got a number of players that are very physical.
Well, it's going to be Mark O'Hara, the captain, to deliver. Missed the League Cup final through injury. I think was on the bench but didn't quite get off it, and there is a header, and what a save that is from Viljami Sinisalo. It was Liam Donnelly who got up high, connected really well with the header, and Sinisalo dove to his right and managed to tip that one over the bar.
That's an outstanding save, and I repeat, it's half an hour since Celtic took the lead in quite remarkable fashion, and they haven't done a great deal. They might look as comfortable as can be, but they're not doing very much.
I said that was their best effort, chance of scoring, and you've got to say, I think the keeper sees that a bit late. It's a great header.
Another delivery from Mark O'Hara this time. Celtic deal with it defensively better and managed to hook it away and across the halfway line.
And Donnelly, again, it's obviously one from the training ground, because he's hanging out on the 18-yard line, and then it's just a floated ball into that sort of 6-yard line, but he's got all the pace and all the momentum going towards the goal, gets a really good header, and it's a fantastic save. I think it's just the pace and the distance that he has to react really quickly, but it's a warning sign for Celtic.
I'll tell you, the crowd would not have reacted well to a 1-1 St Mirren, because I said 20 minutes ago how many advantages the Celtic want, and they are winning, but not with any degree of style.
Yeah, they're letting St Mirren come slowly back into this game, and I think St Mirren's best out is just get the ball up quickly to their front men, and then try and get a bit of support and try and get into wide areas and put balls in the box and cause problems.
St Mirren trying to get in behind there, but I think Jonah Ayunga was offside anyway, so that one will be pulled back for a Celtic free kick. It is obviously a big end to the season for every Celtic player, but specifically on Viljami Sinisalo. He'll know that Kasper Schmeichel won't be back next season. Celtic have a decision to make on whether they bring in a number one or not, so he'll see this as an addition process as to whether he could be the Celtic number one potentially from the start of next season.
Yeah, huge opportunity for him. I think he's done excellent since he's came in. There's a lot of pressure playing with such a big club, and games you're expected.
It's nearly a mistake of his own from Viljami Sinisalo. It was almost the exact same thing that happened at the other end. This time tried to pass the ball, it popped up off the St Mirren player over Sinisalo's head, and he clawed the ball away just before it bounced over the line. That is quite incredible what we've seen there.
What were you saying about him, Cammy?
Wow. This game's just incredible. I think he's actually gave handball.
Yeah, you know, that wouldn't have counted because it came off the elbow of Killian Phillips.
Yeah. But again, it's just it's a player closing a goalkeeper down, and he's right in front of his goal. He's only on his 6 yards from his goal line. He's tried to clear the ball and it comes off him. He's very, very fortunate there.
I think the Celtic supporters at Hampden will be saying, are you having a laugh? You've got Harry Potter in goal for the other side. You've got a goal to the good, and you've spent half an hour doing not very much, and now Sinisalo's had to make one tremendous save, and an elbow has come in the way of the concession of what might have been an equaliser. So I repeat, I think the Celtic supporters at Hampden will be saying, are you having a laugh?
They certainly need the second goal, there's no doubt about that. And as I say, they've gradually just given St Mirren a little bit of confidence, let them back into this game. They're certainly going to close goalkeepers down. I think that's the theme of today, closing the goalkeepers down.
St Mirren just needed a couple of moments, didn't they, that gave them a bit of hope, that sort of light at the end of the tunnel, because the opening 20-25 minutes was all a bit doom and gloom for them.
It was, and they couldn't get the ball off Celtic. Celtic weren't hurting them, they weren't making the goalie wasn't having to make loads of saves, but they just didn't get hold of the ball. I think that header will have given real belief to the St Mirren play. Oh, that's a sore one.
Yeah, there's going to be the first booking of the game for Arne Engels, who shakes his head
I
as
don't
he
know
runs
why
away.
he's shaking his head. I really don't know why he's shaking his head. That looked a real sore one.
Yeah, he's left one on Jacob Devaney.
I take it we've got VAR.
Yes,
we have. Kevin Clancy. Might they look at that?
No, I think he keeps his foot down, so
Slow.
there's no. If the studs were up, then certainly it could have been a red card.
Yeah, it's a sore one, but I think the right decision is yellow. Yep.
Jacob Devaney's been a really good addition for St Mirren. You never really know with these players that have only played Premier League 2 football down in England. Some players come up, don't make much of an impact. He's come up and looked really good in that St Mirren midfield.
Yeah, outstanding from the word go. They might see what they can do to keep him there, but again, it will depend on which division St Mirren are in, so they have to be careful, especially if they meet Mark Wilson's Super Jags in the playoff.
Yeah, they'll certainly be there or thereabouts. Partick, and it'll be a difficult one. Right now, with the way things are going, you're looking at St Mirren's situation. I would favour St Mirren to be in the 11th spot. I know Aberdeen aren't the greatest, but I think Kilmarnock home form will have enough. I think St Mirren need to be careful.
It's amazing how quickly things change as well, because I think a lot of people almost had Aberdeen doomed last weekend until they got that victory. And it is so tight down there that things can change week to week, especially when all the teams are going to be playing against each other in the next few weeks. But St Mirren, for you think are in the most trouble?
Especially with the way things are going. Obviously, the situation with the goalkeeper, they'll need to try and sort that out. Look, they're not out this semi-final by any matter of means, but it's a bit of a road back for them. They need the next goal, obviously. If Celtic get it, then I think Celtic will run out comfortable winners here. And we talk about a young goalkeeper, then the young goalkeeper's done everything that's been asked of him so far.
See, Tierney had the chance there to throw a ball under the bar.
Yeah.
And they elected to go backwards. And
they've ended up back at their goalkeeper when they had the opportunity, as you say, Hugh, to put the ball in the box. Again, it's the players. I think when you're on the pitch, you understand the situation. It's a young goalkeeper. Let's try and test him as much as we can, because we all know if Celtic get the second goal, then it's going to be really, really tough for St Mirren to get through this tie. And I'm just amazed that he didn't put the ball in the box there.
I mean, there is a lack of height in the forward areas for Celtic. Does that make much of it? Yeah.
No, I'm just even meaning just ask the goalkeeper to come and collect the ball. Does he collect it cleanly? Could he drop it and then Maeda sneaks in and taps it in? So there's all these. If you don't put the ball in the box, you're not asking the questions.
He's got an opportunity now. Kieran Tierney to deliver to the back
ball.
post. Yang gets the header and it's off the bar from Yang.
Now, see, if you simplify the game, just put the ball in and somebody heads it, and it's nearly the second goal for Celtic.
Yeah, he's found himself a bit unlucky there. He does everything right. It's a good ball to the back post. Young's got the run on the defender, sees the far post. It's a good header.
It's a tough header as well. He really doesn't do a whole lot wrong.
Goalkeeper beat absolutely not a chance.
That's a brilliant header because, as you say, he's stretching for it. He's having to guide it into that far away corner. He does everything right. He's just so unfortunate.
He scored 2 headers against St Mirren and Paisley last season. I only remember it so well because Marvin Bartley was on as quick as a flash. That Yang looks a player. I had to put up with that all night.
He's certainly been, you've probably put him down as Celtic's most improved player this season. Yang.
Oh yeah, that's the award they'll win at the Celtic dinner. I used to get that one when I was a kid. The best attendance. Most improved player. He's come on to a game, and it's the fact that he's got a run of games and he feels an important part of the side now. I always said he had something. I do agree with you that at times you've seen him, you thought, you need to be a little bit more direct for me, and I think he's brought that in his game. He's brought goals as well. I think most improved player, he'll certainly be picking up that award.
What's the one that's the biggest insult? Clubman of the year? Is that the one that's nothing to do with performance related? Although I think I did see that Simo Valicari won that for St Johnstone at their Player of the Year awards, which is a bit different, but he's just a clubman of the year. But I think it's more to do with the fact that he, in the community, he's just so well liked, Simo Valicari, and what he's managed to do at that club.
Chances
he's been appreciated for. There is a chance for Celtic, and it's a strike with the right foot, which is blocked.
I think he's got to do better.
Take too long on it, Sebastian Connecty.
Yeah, he's got to do better. St Mirren need to be careful here. Even if they get in at half time 1-0 down, they're still in the semi-final. 2, I think it's too big an ask.
Well, Celtic just playing the ball around the back. Not had to say too much about Benjamin Arthur. He's another player that has come up from down south. Brentford, hasn't played really any senior football at all, and this is a big game for him to be thrown into with the suspension of Liam Scales.
Again, he's not had too much to do in the opening 39 minutes that's went past. St Mirren haven't played the ball direct up to their 2 physical strikers too many times, so he's been very comfortable in this first half. And you're right, it's a big game for a young man as well.
They're entitled to be a bit shell-shocked, St Mirren, given the nature of the start to the match, but every now and then they show signs of promise, and Sinisalo has made a truly remarkable save to deny them an equaliser.
Yeah, well, it is just about 5 minutes to go until half time at the National Stadium. Celtic 1, St Mirren 0. Daisen Maeda with the only goal so far. A bit of heartbreak for the Bankies yesterday was something I wanted to touch on, Hugh, because such a dramatic end to the Lowland League season. First and third, Linlithgow Rose and Bonnyrigg Rose were playing against each other. Clydebank were playing against Caledonian Braves. Clydebank did their part of the bargain. Bonnyrigg Rose were 1-0 up against Linlithgow Rose. Looked as if Clydebank may well win the title, but it's gone to Linlithgow Rose, who have since announced that they don't have the correct licence to play in the promotion playoff. So it's almost a double blow for the Bankies, isn't it? Because the team that finished above them can't even compete in the game against Brora Rangers, and Brora Rangers will get a bye to play Edinburgh City for that promotion playoff.
Trying to be philosophical about the whole thing, and I would have dearly loved to have seen Clydebank in the SPFL. Life would have turned full cycle then. But being philosophical, all that Gordon Moffat and the players can do was uphold their side of the bargain, which was to beat Cali Braves, and they did that by 2-0. Thereafter, as we have witnessed this weekend in the shape of Dunfermline, thereafter it's out of your hands, as Ryan Mullen will be saying.
It certainly was out of his.
Yeah, not long to go until half time. I think Craig McLeish will certainly be a lot happier with the last 20 minutes or so than he was with the opening 20 minutes or so. It will give him a bit of belief, but Celtic still hold that lead. I suppose the Celtic supporters inside Hampden will be hoping that they can turn the screw at some point.
Yeah, listen, they've had chances. They've obviously hit the bar and hit the post in the first half. The young goalkeeper had a good save from Maeda, so they've had opportunities, but it seems as if they've dropped their intensity.
Yeah.
And again, I think that plays into the hands of St Mirren feeling their way into the game. And we're right, we said it before, if St Mirren can get in 1-0 down at half time, regroup, let the manager obviously have his say on what's happened in the first half, and try and bring a different element to the second half, then they've got a chance. Because I just feel as if Celtic are a little bit lackadaisical at the moment.
Roger and Scott will tell us the lie of the land at Hampden when we go there at the half-time whistle, but Celtic have got 3/4 of Hampden. 30-odd thousand Celtic fans there, and they're one up.
It's flat though, isn't it?
There's a boy from 5th year in goal for St Mirren. And Sinisalo has had to make an outstanding save to prevent an equaliser. That for me doesn't add up to a satisfactory first half performance if it's 1-0.
I suppose there is the other side of it, that even if Celtic aren't playing blistering football, it's just a case of and Fuyami Sinisalo has been caught on the ball this time. A huge opportunity for St Mirren, but it goes wide from Killian Phillips. Fuyami Sinisalo puts his hands up in apology, and Celtic really get away with one.
Are they just trying to even it up for a goalkeeper? Is it a union? And you see Phillips here, I think he's got to do better. He's on his left foot, that's not even an effort. But Sinisalo, once again, he's get caught sleeping there, and he should have got punished. It's okay putting your hand up, but
that sums up Celtic in the last 15 minutes. How slack they've been, how again slow. He seems to take an age and think he's got so long on the ball, and he gets closed down. He's very, very fortunate, because you're right, Phillips should do much better with a shot.
I do wonder what happened to Ryan Mullen at the start of the game. Can that potentially get in the head of Fuyami Sinisalo as well? If he's watched that happen, does he then overthink it when the ball comes to his feet as well? When
we're watching it, St Mirren and all pressing really high and making it difficult for him to play out, and then I think he's taking too long on the ball. I think he's overthinking it. And certainly he's got away with 2 of them already this afternoon.
I think it's getting the heads of the Celtic players. They're thinking to themselves, we're cruising here. Goalkeeper sold the jerseys, now he's injured, now he's off. The kid, come on, we're cruising here. And they haven't done enough.
You normally don't even see that happen once a game, do you? And we've seen it 3 times.
And you learn straight away when you see it in a game. I think you should switch on more as a goalkeeper, and when it comes back you're a little bit more conscious of taking a good touch and doing things a little bit faster, so you don't get closed down and the ball doesn't go in the back of the net. The danger is they're doing it right in front of their goal as well, which is just incredible.
Can't imagine there'll be too much in the way of injury time. Ryan Mullen went down with an injury. It didn't take too long to get off the park, so do you reckon 1 or 2 minutes to go?
Well,
it's important 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, because Benjamin Negrin carrying the ball forward, we know how dangerous he can be in and around the box. Celtic having to reset after losing it, but they do so with the ball now with Callum McGregor and Kieran Tierney playing it over to Tenecte. And that pass is poor from Sebastian Tenecte, and it goes to the feet of St Mirren. 3 minutes to go of injury time.
Tenecte will not be long for this game. I think Martin O'Neill will be looking at 1 or 2 and thinking,
He's a very frustrating player.
Yeah.
I think the lad's definitely got talent, but he seems to me that he's better coming off the bench. Making an impact, because he's really not offered a lot here.
But we've seen that at Kilmarnock when he came off the bench, and then he got them back into that game when they were with the 2 down at that point, and that kind of turned the game for them, and he was excellent at. But you're right, he's got a real impact when he comes off the bench.
I don't think Fuyami Sinisalo, I think, saw Mikael Mandron coming that time, but still deliberated over the ball a bit too much, then was forced to rush his kick. And
if I was
couldn't find a Celtic player.
If I was Ross Doohan, I'd be warming up. Because I repeat, Celtic should have been out of sight by now. They have every advantage.
Could have an opportunity. Benjamin Negrin skipping into the box, but really well defended by St Mirren, who eventually just get the ball away from danger through Miguel Freckleton.
Yeah, that was good defending there. Celtic putting a little bit of pressure on. They've just not asked enough of the young goalkeeper.
No.
You know what I mean? And all credit to St Mirren. Their defence is, they're putting themselves out there. They're working very hard to try and protect him as well. And if you notice, the minute the ball goes back to him, he's just whipping all the bit of it. He's not even thinking about a touch, quite rightly so.
He's done well since he's came on, and I think you're right, he's made good decisions. Just play the ball long. You've got two strikers who will go and battle out with the Celtic defenders, so don't put yourself under any pressure.
Well, it's going to be Tamas Avicius to take a free kick deep in St Mirren's half. He does go short this time. St Mirren will launch it forward, trying to create one final chance in this first half, and I think it's the offside flag gone up.
Yeah, that's poor. You've got to be aware of where you are, especially when you're trying to put a wee bit of pressure on. If I was St Mirren, I honestly, I'd go a bit more direct just for 10-15 minutes, then, especially in the second half if you're only 1-0 down, and see if you can win second balls and flick-ons and gets you up the park. Takes the pressure off your defence as well.
Is that a strange balance to strike for Craig McLeish, because it's maybe not the way he wants to play football, but if it's the way that you're maybe more likely to find success in this game, worth taking the risk or the gamble.
You look at Celtic's defence as well. I think when it does go up to them, they don't look totally comfortable, so I would certainly be playing.
Yeah, Yang has the ball in the Celtic box, goes for the back heel, the strike, and what a finish that is.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
And it's Anthony Ralston. Just look what that means to the Celtic right back. And on the stroke of half time, Anthony Ralston with a brilliant effort. Was that in off the post, I think? And it gives Celtic a 2-0 lead at a really important time in the game.
Cleverly constructed, beautifully finished. Anthony Ralston absolutely ecstatic. And as they say in Austin Trustee's country, there goes the ball game.
What a finish. I've got to say, Yang does brilliant. Just a wee back heel. And Ralston, he knows exactly what he's doing. It's good play from Celtic. Yang does great here. Great first touch. A wee back heel right into Ralston's path there.
Underside of the bar.
There's no goalkeeper stopping that. No goalkeeper is stopping that.
It was really good play from Celtic. As you say, Yang does brilliant. Just that little back heel to Ralston to run. And what a finish that is. It's a rocket into the back of the net. And exactly what Celtic needed just before half time. Perfect time to score.
Well, that is half time. Let's get the picture from Scott Allen and Roger Hannah.
Half time, Andrew. Celtic 2, St Mirren 0. A goal at either end of the first half has put Martin O'Neill's men in pole position to take on Neil Lennon's Dunfermline here next month. What an incredible start goal for St Mirren. Just 58 seconds into the game, a nightmare for stand-in goalkeeper Ryan Mullen. The one time Hook Johnson making just his second start for the buddies with Jamal George out injured. It was a pass back from Miguel Freckleton. He was guilty of a clumsy touch. He was closed down by Dyson Myra. His clearance hit the Japanese centre forward and spun agonisingly for Mullen into the back of the net. Just Myra's second goal in 23 games, but what a magnificent start for Celtic. Myra won a corner after 8 minutes when again he charged down, this time at Alec Goldie. The ball was eventually worked to Arnie Engels, and his shot from the edge of the box struck the outside of the post and flew to safety. Then in 13 minutes more trouble for Mullen. He went down injured off the ball. He could not continue, and Craig McLeish had to send on 17-year-old Grant Tamasavicius for his first team debut. Just 3 B-team games for the teenager in the Challenge Cup this season. He held a shot from Benjamin Nagri and he then made a diving save to deny Myra, but in truth for long spells of the first half, Tamasavicius not put under any pressure at all. In 30 minutes Michael Mandron's deflected effort earned St Mirren their first corner. It was delivered from the left by the captain Mark O'Hara. A booming header from Liam Donnelly and a fine save from Viljami Sini Salo, but then the Finnish goalkeeper, a central figure to much of the play in the rest of the first half. In an incredible moment, his clearance struck Killian Phillips. It flew back over the goalkeeper's head. He clawed it off the line and was then rescued, and referee Matthew McDermott awarded Celtic a free kick, claiming the loose ball had come off Phillips' elbow. There was a booking for Engels for a foul on Jacob Devaney. There was then a deep cross from the left from Kieran Tierney in 37 minutes. Yang Yoon Jun's header beating Tamasavicius but coming back off the bar. But another huge chance for St Mirren in 44 minutes when Sini Salo again was charged down, this time by Jonah Ayunga. The ball fell for Mandron. He rolled it into the path of Phillips, but the Irish was careless and off target with a weak shot, and that was punished. 3 minutes into stoppage time at the end of the half as Celtic doubled their lead. The move started down the left hand side. The ball transferred across to the right to Yang, and he teed up Anthony Ralston for a fierce right foot finish on the angle off the underside of the bar for a first goal of the season for the Scotland right back. Scott Allen, is that the game put to bed for Celtic?
Yeah, for me, I think it was a crazy start to the game, wasn't it? There was so much talk coming into the game about Ryan Mullen. obviously starting here today, and it was a disaster of a start for him. There's no getting away from that. Then to follow up with then having to go off the pitch, and the young 17-year-old came on, who actually thinks came on and done really well, considering the circumstances in which he's been brought into the game. He's looked to be calm in the ball when needed, and obviously pulled that save off from Maeda. But St Mirren, for me, for 30 minutes, were just not in the game at all. Everything you associate them over the last couple of seasons is make Celtic defend. They didn't up until the 30th minute of the game, and it was a set piece, as we spoke about. And obviously Donnelly was unlucky, and it was a good save from Sinisalo. But out with that, their best chances came from the pressure they were putting on the goalkeeper. But Celtic, I just felt the game get too easy for them. I obviously seen the changes with the goalkeeper. They had a lot of the ball, they were moving it side to side. There's no real purpose about it. And they kind of get a false sense of security, and that allowed St Mirren to get back in the game, and then obviously to top off at the end of the game. Tory Ralston came under a lot of pressure, but he slams home that in off the bar. And Celtic obviously looked to me as if they're going to go on and make it to the
Was Viljami Sinisalo fortunate he saw a big punishment for Ryan Mullen for his mistake when Maeda scored early? Could the same have happened to Sinisalo on a couple of occasions, Scott?
Yeah, I think the glaring one for me is Killian Phillips. I think he's got to do so much better. I know it's not on his favoured right foot, but it falls to his left. You just have to make a good contact with it. He just never looked as if he had real belief that he was going to put it in the back of the net, and so Sinisalo gets away with one there. But that goal just before half time, I think we'll see off St Mirren.
And you'd have been pleased yourself with that finish from Anthony Ralston deep into stoppage time at the end of the first half. He's Celtic's fourth choice right back. There's no Alistair Johnson, there's no Julian Araujo, there's no Colby Donovan. He's come in, he's so far helped protect a clean sheet, and he's got his first goal of the season.
He has done. I think you've got to give a lot of credit to Yang, who has that awareness to see him come behind him. Lovely back heel, and then it's down to the finish off Anthony Ralston. He's been a guy, whether it's with the national team or Celtic, when he's called upon, he comes in and usually solid enough, and to get a goal here, lost that semi-final Scottish Cup, and what a goal it was. He'll be delighted for that.
The Dunfermline manager Andrew Neil Lennon, he's sitting in front of us. He had to get up from his TV duties to pose for some photographs with Celtic fans here in the main stand at Hampden at the break. It'll be interesting to see him in the opposite dugout against Martin O'Neill come May the 23rd. It's heading in that direction at the break at Hampden. At Celtic 2, St Mirren 0.
Second half at Hampden coming up next.
Number 1 for football in Glasgow and the West. 0141 951 1025. Clyde 1 Super Scoreboard.
Celtic 1, St Mirren 0 at half time. So Celtic 2, St Mirren 0 I should say is the half time score at Hampden, and that is because there was a late goal in the half. There was a very early goal in the half, just 55 seconds on the clock when Dalziel Maeda shut down goalkeeper Ryan Mullen, who's in for the injured Shamal George, rebounded into the net. That gave Celtic a 1-0 lead, and then on the stroke of half time a brilliant strike from Anthony Ralston off the underside of the bar means Celtic have the advantage at the break. And do you see any way back for St Mirren?
None at all. But over the course of this weekend, as we have said about the course of the season since last August, a clairvoyant couldn't tell you what's going to happen next in Scottish football. It's been astonishing. And that second goal from Anthony Ralston, very cleverly set up by Yang, makes it certain it's a Neil Lennon Martin O'Neill final. But St Mirren have battled well, given the incredible start that was made to the match, losing a goal in 57 seconds, losing the goalkeeper after that, having a teenager in goal, but testing Sinisalo, who has made several mistakes, but to his credit, an absolutely wonderful save from Donnelly to prevent it from being 1-1 at the time. But Anthony Ralston's goal for me, game, set and match.
Two of you go along with that?
Yeah, well, it's a long way back for St Mirren. Look, I think their best bet for a goal for this afternoon is a set play for me. If they can get deliveries in there, they've showed that they can put Celtic under that little bit of pressure. Okay, I think Martin O'Neill have a real few strong words with his goalkeeper saying, listen, we don't want to make it too easy for them. Start getting it played a little bit quicker. I just see Celtic adding to the scoreline. I really do. I just think that I was listening to Scott and Roger, they look very comfortable. Sometimes it is a bit too easy for them. They get a little bit slack, but the 2-goal lead, perfect time with Ralston's goal as well.
Yeah, Roger Hannah and Scott Allen are at the National Stadium. Scott Allen, there were a couple of hairy moments for Celtic when the ball was passed back to Viljami Sinisalo. I imagine there were nervous moments for the crowd, but what has that Anthony Ralston goal done for the atmosphere inside the stadium?
Yeah, it was really lively. Obviously, when the players were walking up the tunnel, I just think that 2-goal cushion will be enough to see Celtic into the final. We're just looking at how St Mirren approached the game, and early on what you'd want to do in this sort of game, make Celtic defend, as we spoke about, get close to your opposition. I just didn't think they'd done it. They played out from the back. Listen, that's the sort of football I would like to play, but you can only do that if you're really brave on the ball and you really want to go and take it off your teammates. And then when you're receiving the ball, your body shape's the right way to then play forward. They just look like players who are really nervous taking the ball and uncomfortable under that pressure that Celtic were putting on them early on. It doesn't help, yes, going to go down after 58 seconds. I think when you've got Mandel and Hugh up front, and you've seen what they've done in the League Cup final, you've got to give them something to feed off. You're asking them to come and build the game, your defence and midfield. It just hasn't worked for them at all. Yes, they've had chances from a set piece, so they have to. Sometimes with the sort of players at your disposal, you have to just put the ball in an area and get your team up the pitch and allow you to create chances, because I don't really see them creating chances from the build out that they've got, purely based on the players. There's not enough creative players within their side for me who are going to really drive through that heart of the midfield and play killer passes. So their best chances from set pieces and putting balls in the box. You have to get your team up the pitch to do that, to get numbers in the box.
Would you expect that Craig McLeish would make those changes to look a bit more direct in this second half?
I think if you stay more of the same of what the result is going to be, what it is, and Celtic are going to go to a final, I think you've got to throw the dice and change something, because it hasn't worked. Yes, there's been a few hairy moments through pressure, but that's all came from moments where they've had their team in Celtic's half. When they're playing out, they just constantly give the ball away, and then Celtic are on their back line looking to go and create. So he has to change something.
Roger, you can sometimes tell just from the warm-ups at half-time what players are out there, what players maybe aren't, if there are likely to be any changes from either side. Is there anything you've noticed?
No, they all look about there. I'm just looking at the St Mirren team coming back out, led by Mark O'Hara. Young Grant Tamasavisi is coming out at his back. It looks as if it's going to be the same St Mirren 11. Obviously, that early change inside the first 15 minutes. Ryan Mullen going off injured, and Tamasavisi, 17 years of age, on in goal. But no, it looks as if all the outfield players are staying on. They'll be in that three at the back formation, and listen, they'll need to somehow claw their way back in. If you remember, if you go back to December, Andrew, to that Premier Sports Cup final, they scored after just a couple of minutes. Marcus Fraser with that header from the corner, they had something to hang on to. And even with Rio Hitati equalised for Celtic that day, they got their way, they were always in the game. Ayunga scored again, and they saw the game out. This time it'll be far harder for St Mirren. They need to come not just from one down that early goal by Dyson Maida, but that was a real blow. Anthony Ralston scored in the second 3 minutes into stoppage time. Celtic coming out just now, Callum McGregor leading them out. Ralston just at his back, the goal scorer. It's his first goal for 1 year and 1 week. He scored in a home win over Kilmarnock in April last year. This is his first goal of the season for Celtic's fourth choice right back. Both teams coming out, no changes either for Celtic. I just see Arnie Engels coming out there. I think he's the last outfield player to take the field. Scott, would you expect Celtic would go hard at it early in the second half to get the third goal and maybe get a few players rested ahead of these 5 post-split games, starting with Falkirk and Saturday night?
Yeah, I would imagine when they were in the changing room at half time, they would have been disappointed after, I'd say, the 25-minute mark. It was a bit flat, as I said. I did think they get far too comfortable in the game, and they lost that bit of energy they had in the early part, so you'd expect them to come out the second half flying out the traps and looking to wrap this game up with a third.
We're just about to get back underway. Killian Phillips in the centre circle, over the ball as St Mirren start a desperate bid to get back into this and shock Celtic at Hampden again. What a comeback that would be. We're underway, Andrew.
Clyde 1 Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy. Get set for the season with expert pharmacy support.
Back underway at the National Stadium. Celtic 2, St Mirren 0, the half-time score. And St Mirren will just be hoping that they have a better start to the second half that they did for the first. Looked for a second there as if they may give the ball away deep in their own half, but probably no shock that this time they've just shelled it up the park and away from their own box.
I examine the evidence. St Mirren need to score twice to take the game to extra time. St Mirren need to score 3 times in order to win the match in regulation time. Neither of those events are, to my way of thinking, possible. But Celtic need to show greater intensity, get the third goal, and then, as Roger rightly said, that Martin O'Neill can start resting people.
Yeah, listen, if Celtic approach this second half in the way they should, then the job's already done. But again, if they're slack and they allow the opportunity for St Mirren from a set piece, because listen, one goal will make Celtic nervous if they can get a goal back, St Mirren. But I just think Celtic will have too much, and they'll be wanting to try and get that third goal as quickly as possible.
Celtic do, of course, have options on the bench, the likes of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who's made an impact in recent weeks.
Yeah, he's chipped in a couple of goals, important goals as well, especially against St Mirren last week. Look, they'll be looking for the next goal to put this game to bed. But goals, we know the old saying in football, goals change games very, very quickly. St Mirren, if they've any hope at all, they certainly need to get the next one. And their best bet for me, I think they're a threat at set plays. I think they could cause problems. But as Scotty said, you've got to get the team up the park. And it's up to the front two to try and drag Celtic a little bit deeper and cause problems. But there's a lot of space in the wide areas here for Tenecti. I'm with Hugh. I don't think he'll last too long.
No.
Yeah, I think he'll be sitting next to Mullen in the cafe at Hampden the next half.
That was a brilliant ball from Ralston, a cross-field pass right diagonal from right to left, and Tenecti goes to take a touch and completely misses the ball, and that was a real opportunity if he takes a good touch. 1v1.
Yeah.
You say that good ball from Anthony Ralston, you could see how much that goal meant to him. He's had a tough season, he's seen himself drop down the pecking order at Celtic. You know, a right back being brought in January who's ahead of him, a youngster coming through the academy who now looks to be ahead of him when he's fit. Alistair Johnson, of course, has been the first choice when he's fit. A big Celtic fan, Anthony Ralston, has been at the club for so long. You could sense that felt like a huge moment for him.
Anthony Ralston lives with all of the indignities. People keep on saying not good enough to play for Celtic, but he's played over 100 times for Celtic. He's a Scotland international. He may very well be in the World Cup squad going to the United States as Celtic suffer looks like a bad injury problem there. But Anthony Ralston is what Tommy Burns used to call a supporter with a strip. He's an out and out Celtic fan, and this means everything to him. That trusty, that looks a bad one.
It looks like is it Achilles he's holding now?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether there was any direct contact on the foot or whether it was the way he landed. He certainly looks to be struggling. Really can't put much weight on that right foot at all. Is trying to limp it off. Looks in a real bit of discomfort.
Yeah, it didn't look too good. He was in immediate pain right away. We've seen that. I think Martin O'Neill will just be hoping he runs this off. But St Mirren got a wee opportunity to put the ball in the box now from the corner kick. Yeah,
will be a corner. Sebastian Tenecti is not having it whatsoever. He feels that the last contact came off a St Mirren player, protesting heavily, but it is going to be a corner to St Mirren. We saw that they did cause problems. I think Sebastian Tenecti's right as well. The ball was
clearly
kicked off of Tenecti and then back on to Liam Donnelly.
It clearly comes off, and the linesman's standing right in front of us, so I can't believe he's got that wrong. Celtic players won't be happy if this ends up in the back of the net.
But once again, pass instead of just putting the ball into the box.
Well, they're putting it in now.
Yeah, they have put it in this time. It comes all the way through to the other side, and a chance potentially to get the ball across the face of goal, and Voyami Sinisalo directs it out for a corner. Might have been Austin Trusty that directs it out for a corner, but either way, Celtic clear the danger for now.
They're a threat when that ball goes in there. They ask questions of the Celtic defence, and you can see a little bit of panic at times. And as I keep saying it, I don't fancy them, but if they could just get a goal and put Celtic under a little bit of pressure, all of a sudden the game can change.
Austin Trusty looks as if he's recovered from that knock that he took, and he'll have a bit of defending to do with the rest of his teammates as Mark O'Hara whips this one right on top of Voyami Sinisalo, who gets his gloves to it and punches it clear of the Celtic box.
I commend St Mirren for the way they've approached the second half here. They understand the gravity of their situation, but they're going for it here straight away.
Much better to lose, Hugh.
Yeah, of course.
They're out the cup as it stands. It's a semi-final. Just go and take a couple of risks. Start getting balls. That's obviously, is it Declan John from the left hand side? Not the best. Usually he's better than that.
It's better than getting balls in the box. Again, you look at the players that are at St Mirren's disposal and who's on the pitch, and for me it's crying out to play quite direct and up to your two physical strikers, get balls into the box when you've got the opportunity, and they've certainly done that at the start of this second half.
Just looking back to that Anthony Ralston goal, the back heel from Yang, what Dazamaida is in behind here. It's a good ball across the face, but Sebastian Tenekte was just the wrong side of Mark O'Hara, who's able to clear the ball.
I think he's got to do better, Tenekte. You're watching that situation develop, and as a guy that scored many a goal in the 18-yard box, and I'm talking about myself here, Cammy, you've got to make that run across the defender. You've got to, because you know that's the only ball Maeda's got available to him, and put the defender under a bit of pressure, but he reacts too slowly for me.
I was going to say that back heel from Yang, it was almost as if time stood still, didn't it? Just because there was such a big gap in the box. Anthony Ralston was actually out of shot at the time, so you didn't know whether it was just a back heel to no one, but it was actually a really smart piece of play by Yang to play it off.
Excellent from Yang. It really did make the goal, because all the St Mirren players had backed off and almost dropped towards the goal line, and it was just an excellent little back heel, and Ralston's coming on at full pace, and it was a brilliant finish. He's just put his foot through it and it's went right in. Off the bar. It was a brilliant goal, and a perfect goal for Celtic to get
a chance, Cammy.
Yeah, Declan John with a cross towards the back post. The header is in.
Wow. There it is. I told you.
Goal flashes.
Told you.
With M&D Green Pharmacy.
And just like that, St Mirren are right back in this game. It was a really good delivery from the left-hand side from Declan John. Mikael Mandron at the back post, got up highest, and the header had to be accurate to sneak in that far corner past Voyami Sinisalo. And it's game on at Hampden.
Yeah, and it's shocking from Celtic. You know, they've been handed every advantage all day long, and well done to St Mirren. I said earlier on, I commend them for the way they've started the second half. But Martin O'Neill knows it, the fans know it. This is unacceptable.
I'm looking at this here. Are you happy with your goalkeeper here, Cammy?
No, but again, you're criticising the goalkeeper.
Look.
There's Tierney and Trusty.
I know
who are right next to him, and Mandron should not get the header in. And the cross is far too easy again. Like, for me, I'm watching Cal McGregor. He's not busting a gut to get back to stop the cross. It's almost passive from Celtic, and they allow it to happen. I agree, the goalkeeper, whether it's past him already before he dives, I'm unsure, but I certainly wouldn't be sticking the blame on just on the goalkeeper. It looked far too easy.
I totally agree. I think if you're defending cross balls, you've got to do better, but take nothing away from it. Was a great ball in.
Yeah, it was.
I said that earlier. I said he had a lot better on his left foot. He delivered the cross, and he's taking his chance, and game on.
Wow. You couldn't begin to estimate the scale of the embarrassment if St Mirren were to come from 2 goals down and put Celtic out of the cup. You couldn't begin.
Celtic have a chance from a corner, and Grant Tamasavicius tried to come for it. Did he get his hand to it? Yep.
Is it that big an embarrassment, Hugh? But right, I take on board, but the only person you're looking at is, okay, they've got a 17-year-old goalkeeper in there, and let's be fair to him.
But I think it's more the fact that Celtic were 2-0 up, isn't it? If they throw away a 2-goal lead, I think a lot of people, you'd have found plenty of people that would have tipped St Mirren to win this game with the way this season's gone and what they did in the League Cup final. But I think Celtic going 2-0 up in this game for St Mirren to come back would be the real.
Let me put it this way: between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock tonight, you'll understand the scale of the embarrassment. And for 2 hours, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, 10 hours worth of calls, that will tell you the scale of the embarrassment.
Well, Celtic do still lead with 55 minutes on the clock. They've got another chance from a corner. Arne Engels, we talked about his set-piece delivery, but it's a good header by a St Mirren defender, and Celtic are forced. I thought they were going to go all the way back to Voyami Sinisalo, but instead it's a really good pass once again by Anthony Ralston, and a shot here which is deflected out for a Celtic corner.
What a ball from Ralston again, diagonal pass over the top.
I think he's found somebody else's boots in the changing room. His goal was spectacular, and some of the passing,
a couple of really good crossfield switches that he's had.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I agree with you. I think Ralston sometimes gets a little bit unfair criticism.
He lives with indignities. He's always been run down, doesn't deserve to play for Celtic, but always comes through for them.
Well, this is probably what Celtic have needed after conceding that goal, just putting pressure on that St Mirren box. 3 corners in quick succession, just haven't managed to make the most of any of them. And St Mirren will try and play this one out, but it is a mistake. Can Yang get the ball across the face of goal? Big chance here, and Tamasavicius gets his hands on it. That could have gone anywhere.
Yeah, go get this young kid. He's doing very, very well.
He's done well.
He's grown into it, and you can see the confidence in him. I'm impressed with him, because that is a big arena to go out, and especially when Celtic are leading and the goalkeeper's had up. There's a tackle. Is it Alan Campbell? Ralston certainly felt that.
Yeah, that's going to be a booking, I would assume, for Alan Campbell. The yellow card is out, and Celtic players may be protesting that they feel it should be more than a yellow. We will see from this replay.
Ooh, that's sore. That's a sore one.
Well, this is a slow motion replay that you'll be able to sort of tell better from. I think he's probably all right there, because he doesn't go with his studs.
Yeah, again,
it's inside of his boot.
It's the same as the first half. If you go with the studs up, it potentially would be a red card, but it's an absolute yellow card. Yep.
Yeah, yellow card. And that's frustrating, because if you're standing there and you're a St Mirren manager, you're thinking, guys, we're back in this game,
and then they put themselves in trouble.
Don't put ourselves under any more pressure here. We're back in it. So they've just got to be careful.
And Celtic have got to be adventurous. We go back to what Martin O'Neill said about the league game: energy levels, creativity, middle of the park, chance taking.
Maeda nicking in, stealing the ball from the toes of Alex Gogic, and it's come back to Maeda from Benjamin Nygren, but his cross goes over the head of Yang that was arriving in the box. I think there was an offside in there, so it will be a free kick to St Mirren.
I'll tell you what, we've got a far more fascinating match than I thought possible. From minute 1 when Maeda scored, to Ryan Mullen going off and having to be replaced by a teenager, Celtic scoring that second goal from Anthony Ralston, you think game over. And now, not an hour played yet, we've got a different kind of spectacle altogether.
Don't rule out another long day. You know what I mean? Don't.
Yeah. That goal's changed everything.
Exactly.
It absolutely has. And again, it'll change the belief of the St Mirren players, because you're right in what you say. St Mirren just need to weather the storm, and all. Celtic will try and come at them and get that goal, but the longer they don't get the goal, it's just one set play, it's one break up the pitch.
And if it does go to extra time, I'm just hoping that the young goalkeeper's family allow him out.
Well, I mean, the schools go back tomorrow.
Exactly, Hugh.
You need to get to bed early.
Get his hair washed and that for a night, for tomorrow.
Benjamin Nygren with a cross. Dyson Maeda's gone for the diving header, but it was cleared by Miguel Freckleton.
Well, Celtic know they're in a game, that's for sure. And the Celtic supporters will be looking on with a degree of mystification. I'm always getting slaughtered for saying this team will not win a title, couldn't possibly win the title. I'm now even more convinced in my mind that team couldn't possibly win the title.
They are still winning the game though, and there have been plenty of performances where Celtic haven't looked at their best this season, but have still won games. They could continue to do that between now and the end of the season.
They could win the double, Hugh.
Yeah.
If I keep saying it, more people get annoyed and more calls come in.
Okay.
Well, the ball goes into the arms of the grateful Grant Tamasavicius after Yang tried to dink the ball over the St Mirren defence. We are reaching the hour mark at Hampden. St Mirren unable to massively capitalise on getting a goal back. Celtic have put on a bit of pressure, but could they do something here? It's maybe not the type of ball that the St Mirren strikers want in behind, and Vayami Sinisalo just comes and clears.
Well, every time the ball lands at Sinisalo's feet, he must think,
Again, he hesitated for a moment there, and then just a straight ball up the pitch. I mentioned it before, one ball up the pitch can create that second goal for St Mirren.
I'll be surprised, Martin. He must be looking at a change.
He's got to.
Yeah.
Well, James Forrest got to come on.
Oh, so he is. Sorry about that, Hugh.
We did see him get
probably
stripped.
coming off.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it is going to be Sebastian Tenecte that makes way. James,
I think
Ralph is just getting a water bottle. It is Sebastian Tenecte.
Can he take out the best player on the pitch? He's been outstanding. This guy does nothing for me.
No.
I've got to say, I said earlier, I think he has got a bit of talent, doesn't use it enough for me. Does not use it enough.
He looks as if he's a bit frustrated come off, but he's not done enough. He's not done enough. I'm amazed that he thinks he's done enough within the game to stay on.
I think you got the most famous shout in football: get warmed up, you're coming off.
I remember there was quite a bit of hype about him at the start of the season, where he looked really good one-on-one against fullbacks and was taking them on at will, was looking exciting, just didn't have the end product, was in and out the team. Had that spell at the start of February where he got a couple of goals, he got a couple of assists, was maybe looking as if he was putting it together, but just hasn't managed to continue that at all, and hasn't even found himself getting game time in the last 2 weeks.
I don't think was it 5 million Hugh for him? I don't think it was well spent. I've got to say that. I don't look at him and I think that's good value for money. I do think he has got something, but he seems to be better coming off the bench and the game slowed down a bit. He's offered absolutely nothing this afternoon.
As they say in his native country, he's a bit of a kiddie on Merchant.
Celtic can't be paying £5 million for a bench player though. Do you know what I mean?
They've paid £5 million for Ballaquisha.
Of course
get to the bench.
But I'm saying
he's in Silverburn now. Doesn't even go on the team bus.
You'd imagine he will be in the stand. I've seen a couple of tweets of photos of Kasper Schmeichel, who looks to be down at the Manchester City Arsenal game that's happening later on today instead of being at Hampden.
You're not
no issue with that?
No, not at all.
His career at Celtic's over.
Yeah.
So
still under contract.
I know, but it's not as if anyone's going to care.
I think people care about these things.
I know what hospitality I would rather be in. Let me just tell you that.
Of course, as another former Manchester City player sticking up for him.
As been invited to these sort of games, I'm telling you, I know the hospitality.
And you chose to come here?
Yeah, what was...
No, I didn't get invited.
No, not today, no.
No, ages ago, when I was big time. I would get invited. It was Manchester City, Liverpool, director's box.
Where were Manchester City at that point? Was this pre-takeover?
Third tier.
No, are you? What are you talking about when I played?
No, when you were invited down.
Oh, I was under Pep's guidance.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Really?
Or was it? Or was it Mark Hughes?
It's quite a big difference.
I know. It was one out two. Who else was the manager? Oh, no, the Italian lad.
Roberto Mancini,
because I remember meeting him in the hospitality, had a chat. He was very impressed with my Italian.
As in the league title winning Mancini.
Yeah.
Always used to wear a Manchester City scarf with his suit, didn't he?
He was cool. I enjoyed his company. He was a good lad.
It tells you something about this game that we're talking about Mancini's dress sense.
Yeah, it has quietened down a bit. There was the St Mirren goal not long after half time. Celtic had a few corners after that, didn't create too much from it, but 64 minutes gone at Hampden, and it is still Celtic 2, St Mirren 1. Craig McLeish, I think, will be pretty happy though, because all he needed his team to do was to get that goal, get themselves back into the game, maybe try and spook Celtic a bit.
And they look comfortable again. They're passing out from the back. The goalkeeper looks nice and relaxed within the game now, the young goalkeeper. The game's going exactly the way he would have wanted the second half to go. Get that early goal, make sure that when Celtic come back after that goal, you weather that storm and you feel your way into the game. And as I said, the longer this stays 2-1, Celtic will start to get nervous.
Well, speculation is allowable, Cammy. You can speculate on the possibility of a second goal for St Mirren, possibility of extra time. Speculation is allowable until Celtic get a third goal, and surely that's one.
So you're ruling St Mirren out of this, Hugh?
No. I'm saying speculation is allowable. That's what I've just said.
To be fair, you said 2-1. You know what I mean? So far you're doing okay.
Yeah, but that never lasts, as you well know.
Exactly.
History tells you that's...
Yeah, the roof cave in very shortly.
Yeah.
Did you have a prediction for yesterday's game? Were you forced into that on Friday night at all?
Yeah, took Falkirk, and so did Scott Allen. You see, I took Falkirk. Most of the country took Falkirk.
Yeah,
I agree. I think a lot of people fancied Falkirk in the big pitch.
Mark O'Hara with the challenge on Yang and tries to set Mikael Mandron away, but Celtic will just go all the way back to Viljami Sinisalo.
Yeah. And I think I was very fortunate that I didn't see much of the game yesterday. I was elsewhere.
Does it look like Celtic need a wee revamp in the middle of the park? The so-called engine room? Could it be doing with fresh ideas? Because not a lot's happening for them. The Oxlade Chamberlain.
Yeah, I mean the options they have, Oxlade Chamberlain, Luke McCowan, Rio Hatate on the bench as Celtic into the box with a good sliding challenge from Alex Gogic.
It's that last action again, it was Nygren that was running with the ball and he just got to slide them in. He plays them short and it breaks the attack down, and St Mirren are coming up the pitch now.
Yeah, it's quite open when St Mirren get the ball forward, and there is an opportunity for Declan John to cross. Killian Phillips was that on the around the penalty spot. A strike is deflected and Declan John has another crossing opportunity, which he takes well. A really good ball in from Declan John. We've seen that, and it will be a free kick to Celtic in their own box.
I think Tierney get wiped out there. He's certainly not happy. I think he's over having a real go at the linesman. During the build-up, he went down off the ball.
Bit panic stations though from Celtic at the back there. They're defending, last ditch defending from Celtic, and they put themselves in that position.
We see it here. It's just a shoulder, isn't it? Yeah. Just a bit being strong.
Yeah, just a bump for you, sort of shoulder to shoulder rather than anything else.
Last time I seen somebody get down like that, wee Roscoe had your pair of gloves on. To be fair, Tierney took longer to get down.
So Mirren clearly fancy this. They clearly think there's an opportunity here.
Re-energised, certainly.
Just did look very open, didn't it, when St Mirren were driving forward? The spaces between Celtic's midfield and defence. Even
the volley from the edge of the box, you don't see the Celtic players desperately coming out. They're all standing, and the fear is that volley goes in the top corner and there's nothing you can do and you're back on level terms. So Celtic really need to bring something to the game, because it's just really, really flat at the moment, and I think they're playing into St Mirren's hands.
Well, if Fendi looks like they're going to get the goal, it's St Mirren just now.
Yep.
Okay, they're not asking save after save of the Celtic goalkeeper, but they look more threatening than the final third.
Yeah, they don't have anywhere near the territory Celtic do, but there's just something slightly more threatening about St Mirren when they get into that final third.
Yeah, and they're getting some good joy down the left hand side. Declan John, as I say, he's got a nice left foot. If he can get him on the ball and just put decent balls in there and give the forwards something to go and chase. No, he's never catching that.
No.
Something that will give St Mirren hope is the quality of Declan John's deliveries. You know, on a pretty regular basis, he is really good, whether it's dead ball situations or from open play down that left side. We saw it for the goal. There's a couple of other really good crosses as well that could cause some danger. Yeah, and he's had a lot of joy in the second half down that left hand side. Really a fantastic ball in the box. For me, it was, when you look defensively, it was too easy from Celtic, allowed him to deliver that ball, but it was a brilliant ball, so they'll be looking to try and get him on the ball high up the pitch as much as they can.
This game's open.
Yeah, very
you
open.
know what I mean? I'm quite enjoying it. It's an open game. I think we're going to get another goal or two.
Well, James Forrest trying to spark something down the right for Celtic. Anthony Ralston with a pass into the box. Celtic just trying to find that bit of space to get that final pass in and get a shot away on Grant Tamasavicius' goal.
I know we've gone over the point several times, but if Nygren isn't there to score a goal, he does very little else in the match.
I do agree with that, Hugh.
James Forrest with a chance. This one is blocked.
Yeah, it's on that left foot he has. It's just a swinger. You're hoping that for the best, didn't you?
Yeah.
He didn't make good contact either.
Yeah, there's not many two-footed good players nowadays.
How are you with your...
I was excellent. Excellent. You didn't know what foot I had.
As many goals with the left as the right.
Yeah, a couple of headers thrown in there, cup finals and stuff like that. So yeah, I was prolific round about the box with any foot.
Well, here is Declan John challenged by Anthony Ralston, who continues his good game that he's had so far.
Yeah, he's one of the Celtic players to get pass marks. Not very many are getting them at the moment. I still think Martin O'Neill needs to make one or two changes. It's flat as can be from Celtic's perspective.
Yeah, he needs something. For me, I would look at the front area.
Yeah,
I know that he's brought Forrest on, but you know, he might look at who's he got on the bench. I've not even looked.
Iheanacho is on
he's
there.
He's a big surprise. For me, he's the best centre forward at the club.
His fitness issues the problem.
I know, it's incredible. I think he's the best goal scorer. I think link-up play, he's a clever player, he's a good footballer, but they just don't seem to get the minutes. As St Mirren they're throwing the dice. Is it throwing the dice? Is that what I'm saying? Yep.
Rolling the dice.
Rolling the dice.
Okay.
You can throw it as well, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm throwing it today.
Yeah, St Mirren readying a couple of changes, so we'll let you know when those happen. But yeah, Craig McLeish probably thinks it's time to freshen things up and see if they can attack Celtic from a different angle, maybe just get some forward players on with different strengths, different ideas, as they chase a goal to get back level with Celtic at Hampden.
The kid in St Mirren's goal is simply not being put under any pressure at all. And with 20 minutes of a cup semi-final to go, you find that peculiar.
Yeah, but I think you've got to give St Mirren's midfield and their defence a wee bit credit. They're trying to protect the young lad as best as they possibly can as Celtic come forward here. No, it's never getting there. That needs to be an exceptional ball.
Yeah, it's the right idea from Benjamin Negron, wasn't it, just to play it in behind with Dalziel Maeda running onto it, but just rolls all the way through to St Mirren's young goalkeeper.
If Iheanacho is on the bench, we have to presume that he's fit to play at some stage.
Oh, he's got to come on.
He's got to be fit enough to play 20 minutes.
So now we've arrived at that stage, Cammy.
Yeah.
So if not, why not?
What does that look like? Is that a straight swap for Dalziel Maeda? Is it Yang coming off?
Well, here we go.
Here are going to be a couple of changes, but it's going to be two midfielders for Celtic. It's going to be Luke McCowan and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. So Arne Engels, maybe no surprise that he comes off, because he has had a long time out injured, made a substitute appearance last weekend. And Callum McGregor, interestingly, gives the captain's armband to Kieran Tierney and will make his way off. I'm not sure he was 100% fit though, Callum McGregor.
He came off against St Mirren last week as well at Celtic Park. Obviously it is, they're just managing him through the game. I think the substitutions were needed. You look at Engels, right, he had a great effort in the first half, didn't see him again. You know, I've not seen a lot of him, and I keep getting back to it. Maybe one day they'll rue the fact that he never took 25 million quid.
McGregor, I don't think had the influence he would have wanted on the game either. Didn't really. Again, he done if he was neat and tidy when he was on the ball, but I think you're right, them changes in the middle, they needed a freshness, they need a lift, they need to take control of this game again.
3 changes it's going to be for St Mirren. Jake Young, Roland Adowu, and I think I saw Jaden Richardson come on as well. So 3 changes: Ayunga, Phillips and Campbell on. So attacking changes. Jaden Richardson will go to that right wing back slot. He's more likely to get up and down that side and provide more of what sort of Declan John does down the left. Jake Young gives a different option in the final third, and Roland Adowu, who doesn't always play, is capable of a good bit of magic at times.
Again, it's fresh legs, it's fresh energy to the St Mirren team. They've spent periods defending, but they've been in Celtic's half much more in this second half. Been filling up the
opportunity now, put it in the box. That's all I'd be doing. I'd just be asking questions of get my big guys up there, put the ball in the box. I know that he likes to play a little bit different now, but I think you've got to play your strengths. And certainly I think St Mirren's best opportunity is going a little bit direct.
Well,
there's nothing up with that.
They'll put this one into the box. Free kick out on the left. Declan John. It's a deep opportunity from this free kick. The right hand goes up, and he'll just try and cause a bit of danger in between that Celtic line of defence and Voyami Sinisalo, and see if anyone can get a telling touch. It is good delivery, and it's headed over Voyami Sinisalo's bar.
Well, they're out of the Copperstone stand, and they're entitled to just go for it. If they lose 3-1 in the end, it just means they're out of the cup with an extra goal against them. But it's a really scruffy performance from Celtic, and St Mirren have put players on. 15 minutes of regulation time to go, and they're going to go for it.
It was always going to be a difficult game. I know that it favoured Celtic a little bit because of what happened at the beginning. Obviously highlighted the goalkeeper, but this was always going to be a tight game. St Mirren have run Celtic close this season. Obviously beat them in the final last week at Celtic Park 1-0. So it was always going to be that way for me.
But again, it's when Celtic drop the intensity they've had spells where they've been in control and they've been intense with their play and moving the ball really quickly, and that's when they've been obviously at their best. But then they drop it and it allows St Mirren into the game, and that's why they're still in the game, because Celtic have allowed this to happen.
There was a great story during the week, you'll remember it, Andrew. Frank McAvenny, hero of Celtic's centenary season, who said that Celtic bored them witless. He didn't say witless, but he said a word that rhymed with witless. And you know, Martin O'Neill said on Friday he didn't care what Frank thought, but Celtic today, it's been scruffy, low key, not up to much.
I don't think they'll bother, Hugh, if they can get into the final.
No.
Because they'll fancy, obviously, a championship team. I know Neil Lennon's been terrific for them family in the cup, but
here's a chance for St Mirren.
Yeah, St Mirren with a chance down the right to try and get the ball into the box, but the delivery is really poor.
Terrible ball. You'd be really upset with that. And then you go and get yourself offside.
Yeah,
not the best first involvement for Roland Adobu.
No.
He's got to do better. He's got to do better.
Yep. Celtic are in a game here, though.
Yeah.
I feel like when St Mirren go forward, they are a threat, and you just feel that Celtic look a little bit nervous now. There's only 15 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, Craig McLeish absolutely would have taken this scenario if you'd offered him it one minute into the game.
Yeah. No, and the longer it goes on, we all know that St Mirren will throw bodies forward. They'll go very, very direct in the last 5-10 minutes to throw balls in the box, and that's when it can drop anywhere.
So are we to take it then that Iheanacho, Adamu, they simply can't be trusted to come on? Recognised strikers.
Still time, but I mean, you'd imagine it would be
about
more
Mirren.
likely for Iheanacho to come on than Junior Adamu, just given the game time that the two of them have had so far this season.
But as I say, Adamu came on and saved Celtic in the Scottish Cup. They wouldn't be in it but for him. But anyway, as I say, it's not a great performance, and it's getting worse by the minute.
Yeah, Celtic have given the ball away in their own half, and it will give St Mirren an opportunity down this left for Declan John to square up against Anthony Ralston, and it's good defending by Anthony Ralston, not only to rob Declan John of the ball, but to win a free kick.
Yeah, excellent defending, really good from Ralston, but I think Declan John just needs to get out his feet and put the ball in the box. He doesn't need to take Ralston on. He goes to try and take him on. Ralston does excellent, gets his body in the way and draws the foul, but for me, just take a touch, put it in the box.
Put it in the box, yeah. That's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, you would much rather that, you know, as a St Mirren supporter, that Declan John, with his delivery in there, it just makes sense, doesn't it?
You've got the bodies in the box, you've got that physicality that you're trying to put in. You know that Celtic are vulnerable when the ball goes in the box because you've already scored, so it all just weighs up of just taking a touch and put it in the box.
The sun still shining at Hampden, not the conditions that you like for a game of football, Hugh. You like it when it's dark and sinister.
Yeah, and pouring with rain. And
I loved playing in the rain, Hugh.
Yeah.
Oh, loved it.
I saw you in an Old Firm game in the rain at Celtic Park.
Was I good?
You scored a goal.
Yeah.
Didn't they say you were good though?
You lost. You lost 3-2 though.
No, we didn't. We drew 3.
Chance.
Oh, St Mirren into the box. The shot is blocked, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain can only watch as it rolls out for a St Mirren corner.
The sirens are wailing and the bugles are blaring at the back. The Celtic fans are looking at this with incredulity, and St Mirren are really in with a chance here.
Yeah, just a bit
scrappy.
Yeah, from Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, a couple of opportunities he had to clear, he was unable to. The ball comes to the back post, and St Mirren player will just watch that go out for a throw. Celtic players are claiming it should be theirs, but you wonder if they'll try and launch this one into the box.
Have they got a long thrower? Yep, they've got a long thrower.
Jaden Richardson doesn't look as if he's going to line this one up and go long.
The long thrower took it short.
It did look as if he was running over with purpose, didn't it? And then threw it 5 feet in front of him.
Maybe he forgot his towel.
Right, 10 minutes to go. St Mirren have a corner. Is there going to be late drama?
There is the potential for late drama. It's, for me, a ridiculous state of affairs that you're having this discussion, given the start that Celtic had to the match, given the psychological advantage of the goal and time added on in the first half, but they're right up against it.
corner delivery comes in. It's another
Good goalkeeper.
good delivery, but good goalkeeping, as you say, by Voyami Sinisalo, who gets his gloves on it, and that will be another frustration. Roland Dodowu, just unable to control the ball, rolls out of play for a Celtic throw.
He seems not to know where he is.
Yeah. I could see a sub getting subbed.
Yeah.
He's not had the best of starts since he's come on the pitch, I've got to say that.
No, Sinisalo does really well there, because it is a really good ball in from Declan John, and he comes, takes charge, exactly what Celtic need at this moment in time, because they've lost their way in this second half. They've completely lost their way.
Here he comes.
Yeah, Kelechi Iheanacho is stripped and ready to come on. Is that going to be Daisen Maeda or Yang, do you feel?
Yep, one of the two. And
Good prediction there.
Yeah, I'm going to go Yang.
Yeah, I'm going to say Yang as well.
Dave?
Yep.
Guaranteed it's not going to be Yang.
No, it's not Yang.
Going to be a change for St Mirren. First, Conor McMenamin is on, and it's going to be Liam Donnelly off. So an attacking change for St Mirren, which you feel Craig McLeish had to make at this stage.
Well, we really are into last chance territory.
And it is Yang coming off for Kelechi Iheanacho. So Daisen Maeda, you'd assume, will shift out wide, and Kelechi Iheanacho will take up that number 9 position.
And he'll say, remember my back heel to Anthony Ralston. Oh, it's Kieran
Tierney
Tierney
as well.
Yeah, Kieran Tierney making way for Sirachi. I would assume, haven't seen him, but it would be the logical change for Celtic at this point.
Who would have thought in a cup semi-final Celtic would take off Kieran Tierney and Callum McGregor? But you've just watched it.
I suppose Kieran Tierney, just throughout the season, has been managed, hasn't he? Celtic will want him fit for the final 5 games of the campaign. Marcelo Sirachi has shown that he is very capable in his time. Callum McGregor has had his fitness issues as well, but Celtic have made those changes. Does that throw in, you bemused at why that's gone all the way back?
Yeah, he just throws it right by him. Just throw it to him. You can't even get that right. But here's another opportunity, is it? Free kick?
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very deep free kick out wide for St Mirren. I can't imagine they'll launch this one into.
Oh, I'd be launching that in.
Is it legitimate to say Celtic are holding on at the moment?
Yeah, but the goalkeeper's not really had magnificent
not really
saves or
tested.
They've not got control of the game, though. They've not got control of the game.
No, but I would certainly be launching this right in on top of them.
Well, they are going to do it. As we saw from the last free kick they had from this position, so tough to get a header that's going to trouble the goalkeeper from.
I think it's the second one, so this is the one I would go deep and then try to head it back across goal.
Well, Declan John does go deep, but goes too deep, and Voyami Sinisalo is out off his line once again to collect.
He does well there. The goalkeeper takes the pressure right off his defenders, and I like to see that come out and catch the ball. That's why you've got those big gloves.
If he had any nerves after those couple of incidents in the first half, looks as if he's put those to bed.
I think Sinisalo, you can see he's a confident person. He's been excellent since he's came in. He's made a good save today. Obviously, he had a period in the first half where he was taking too long on the ball, but yeah, he's recovered well.
Yeah, Murray would be on an equaliser rather than a third goal for Celtic right now.
Yeah, they're good. They're certainly giving it a chance.
Yes, St Mirren have the ball high up the pitch. It's a Declan John a cross that is blocked, loops up into the air and out for a throw in on this near side.
Well, 5 minutes of regulation time left, and
Celtic are just dropping deeper and deeper at this stage, aren't they?
They're asking for it.
They're taking their 2-1.
Yeah,
they're quite happy with 2-1 here. He's got to go out wide.
Yeah, Kelechi Iheanacho has
a ball there.
Assumed that number 9 role. It's a touch with the chest, and the St Mirren player has gone down. He is claiming, Jayden Richardson, that he was pushed, but referee Matthew McDermott, having none of it, says it's a goal kick to Celtic. We will see a replay of that. I'm not sure. Was he just stronger than Jayden Richardson? Yeah, it's a nudge.
You're not going to get a penalty for that, no.
No. I don't think is his touch. He certainly goes for it. He's certainly playing for it.
I think it's a nudge, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough in the nudge to give a penalty in that incident.
No, I was never seeing that was going to be a penalty kick.
No, if there was any check, then it was very quickly over with, and Voyami Sinisalo can take his goal kick.
I'd be very interested to hear Mark O'Neill at time up, if it finishes 2-1, how he describes this performance.
I feel it could be a very similar story to what he said in recent weeks, where if Celtic go on to win this game, that he'll be happy that Celtic have won, but he almost seems to say every week now that Celtic's performances need to improve.
Yeah, well, he said last week it's a bit worrying after he'd beaten St Mirren 1-0. Chance now.
Yeah, chance for Celtic to put the game to bed, but Sirachi's shot is blocked.
And he said it was worrying because of energy levels and creativity, and well, for me, just the same this week.
I think he'll just be happy to be in the final.
Yeah.
Because they'll get the strong favourites, of course they are. It's not been the best performance ever, but people will tell you semi-finals are just about winning the game.
Yeah, nobody remembers the semi-finals if you win the final. Is that the old thought process?
I remember a few semis. Yeah, got whipped in a few. I remember day ones. And I remember I missed
Here we go.
The worst chance ever recorded at Hampden Park.
Well, here is a chance for St Mirren. The ball is cut back, and it's Voyami Sinisalo with the save, and he's had to make a double save, and the second one goes out for a St Mirren corner. Mikael Mandron with a second effort that time.
Celtic are hanging on for
I think
dear
you can
life.
use that term now, Hugh.
Yeah.
Too easy.
Far too easy.
Yeah, and they're certainly getting players forward.
They're almost passive in the second half, the way they're defending.
I think he's got to do better there.
It's just a big chance.
Adjust your feet
slip,
a little
is
bit.
he? Just
adjust your feet.
Another chance from this corner, though.
Yeah, Declan John with another delivery. It's going right on top of where Voyami Sinisalo is. It's a Celtic defender that gets his head onto it. It's going to be a strike from the edge of the box and out for another St Mirren corner.
Yeah, putting a bit of pressure on.
Really hanging on. I'm going a grade above hanging on. They're really hanging on.
Yeah, well, they are.
You can see by the body language of the Celtic players as well that they're frustrated and you know it's not happening for them today. They'll be delighted for the full-time whistle, I think.
Yeah, Declan John once again, left-footed delivery. This one goes slightly deeper. The ball is headed away after the first contact was flicked away from goal.
No.
St Mirren still with a chance to create a bit of danger. It's at the edge of the Celtic box, and Celtic making a bit of a hash of trying to clear this, and a free kick has been given, and Celtic can.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off for them.
Yeah, Luke McCowan I think just took a dunt in the head from Jake Young at the edge of the box, and Celtic will be very relieved to hear that whistle go. Yeah, he's just caught him with his arm.
Yeah,
not getting away with that, are he? It relieves the pressure a little bit.
Interesting to see how much time is added on, adding to the psychological strain of it all.
Yeah, Voyami Sinisalo, you'd imagine he'll be taking as much time as he possibly can over this free kick.
Yeah, I think Celtic will be direct. They just want the full-time whistle now. As you say, they'll look back and think, yes, we could have done better, but we're in a final and we're firm favourites in that final, so they just want the full-time whistle.
Well, it is 89 minutes exactly on the clock at Hampden, and I think the nails will be getting bitten from both ends of the support, and probably in both dugouts as St Mirren try to get in behind, but it's a good bit of defending by Benjamin Arthur.
The whole season long, Celtic have found St Mirren arguably the hardest team in the league to play against, for whatever reason.
This could be an opportunity for St Mirren now. The ball played across. Austin Trusty gets the block in. It's a lovely turn, but the cross is ballooned way over anyone in that Celtic box.
Wonderful
all St Mirren
feet.
players. Jake Young. It was a lovely turn, wasn't it? First time, but he then just got a bit too excited with the cross.
The defending from Celtic's awful.
Yeah, Trusty in particular. Terrible. But anyway,
the fourth officials board is about to go up at Hampden. I think there'll be 4 minutes left to go.
Yeah, it's your 4-minute warning.
Yeah, St Mirren have been getting the ball inside the Celtic box at a pretty frequent rate, and this could be the big opportunity.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Wow, what an end to the 90 minutes. It's Mikael Mandron with a brilliant strike, and this game is going to extra time.
No more than St Mirren deserve, and no more than Celtic deserve. I describe the performance as scruffy. It's worse than that, and they've squandered a 2-goal lead. If they lose this game, it is a bigger embarrassment than losing the cup final in December to St Mirren. It will have a devastating effect on the remainder of Celtic's league season, and every time I say that Celtic have no chance of winning the title, I get slaughtered. I invite anyone to tell me how this team can possibly win the league title.
On that St Mirren goal, it is a brilliant strike from Mikael Mandron, a brilliant touch though from Jake Young, just back to goal, loops the ball over that Celtic defence, and Mikael Mandron, he's on his toes, he's quicker off the mark than Benjamin Arthur, still has a lot to do with that finish.
It's a fantastic
and couldn't really catch it better.
Listen, it's a brilliant goal from St Mirren's point of view. That finish from Mandron from that angle, brilliant, right in the corner, half volley, fantastic. But that defending is absolutely woeful from Celtic. The two centre halves are picking up Mandron. It's just a flicked ball over the top. You've just seen the board go up for 4 minutes and they concede a goal like that. It's absolutely shocking.
And right now you're going to make St Mirren favourites to go and win this game,
because if you're defending that badly, it doesn't matter whether it's regulation time, extra time or whatever, they are simply hopeless.
Well, there are still 2 minutes of injury time to go. Celtic have won the ball high up in St Mirren's half, and Srirachi will whip a ball in which is booted up in the air by a St Mirren defender.
There's too many Celtic players passengers just now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you look at them, they're not the same. They don't dominate the middle of the park. They lack it a little bit up top. Defensively, they're all over the place. I'll tell you what, St Mirren will be feeling absolutely brilliant about themselves as they come again.
Yeah, well, Yami Sinisalo is quick off his line to put that one out for, well, it looked as if it was going to go out for a throw. Celtic have actually kept it alive momentarily, but
Celtic are hanging on. They could still have time enough to lose this game without extra time.
Just incredible the way this game's turned.
Yeah, and it's a double-edged sword. St Mirren have been terrific in the way they've overcome the incredible start to the match, and Celtic have been horrific. You've got terrific playing horrific.
Well, you do wonder if St Mirren could create one more opportunity, because they have the ball out wide in Celtic's half. It is a decent looking delivery which for a moment you thought might threaten, because it was that line in between the goalkeeper and defence, but there was no one attacking it. An easy gather for Voyami Sinisalo. Could Celtic do something up the other end with Daisen Maeda driving forward? Srirachi with the cross, and it looks for a second as if Kelechi Iheanacho was going to get his head on it, but it's good defending by Miguel Freckleton.
Brilliant defending from Freckleton, because Srirachi just kind of whips it in on the turn and it's going straight to Iheanacho. And
this is the last chance saloon now. Corner kick Celtic, seconds of time added on to go. This is the last chance of the regulation time.
10 seconds to go, less than 10 seconds to go of injury time. Celtic corner. Could Celtic get back in front with basically no time left on the clock? It is a left-footed delivery, and it doesn't go beyond the first man. There's a strike from the edge of the box that is not troubling the goal from Luke McCowan, and that should be that for the 90 minutes.
And Roger and Scott will be inside a very noisy and unhappy Hampden, I think, because I think this has been an embarrassing performance from Celtic.
The script is written. The young goalkeeper will save all the penalties.
He's got to say it. Can he be the hero?
He's got to be, innit? He is going to be.
It's one thing making his debut in a Scottish Cup semi-final, for that semi-final to then go to penalties.
Time up.
Martin's
I think it is. Certainly Martin O'Neill has taken his jacket off. We will wait for this goal kick to be taken. I think the whistle will then go. It is full time at Hampden, but it's not the end of the game. Scott Allen and Roger Hannah.
We've got another half hour at Hampden in this Scottish Cup semi-final, Andrew. It's Celtic 2, St Mirren 2 at the end of the 90 minutes, and an incredible 90 minutes. Celtic were 2 up at the break. Goals at either end of the first half by Daisen Maeda and Anthony Ralston. In between, Saints lost stand-in keeper Ryan Mullen with 17-year-old Grant Tamasavicius going in goal. But the League Cup winners somehow rallied in the second half. Miguel Mandron held them back into the game with a header across goal, Jamie Sinisalo. And then as the game went into 4 minutes of stoppage time, Mandron burst clear and lashed an equaliser past the Celtic goalkeeper to send us in to extra time. Scott Allen, at half time you said it was all over. What's made the difference?
The changes. I think Andrew Ash if you were St Mirren, what would you do? And it would be direct. That is the players they have at their disposal. That's when you see them using their skill set, getting up against Celtic players, making it uncomfortable, turning balls where you don't think they're going to get something out of it into throw-ins, and then playing your football in Celtic's half. That was the biggest thing for me. And at the same time, Celtic just, you got to take into account here, St Mirren have a 17-year-old goalkeeper who's come on in a semi-final, and that just shows you where they're at in terms of an attacking sense. They've hardly made them have to make a save, and then on the other foot, defensively, all over the place. They look nervous, and once it became that man for man, which we spoke about at half time, Celtic just don't know how to overcome it, and that's why St Mirren have get back in the game. They kept asking the question, and what a finish for that equaliser from Mandron. A fantastic goal.
Celtic have struggled to deal with the physicality of Mandron in the second half. He towered above Austin Trusty and Kieran Tierney for the first goal. He just got away from Tierney for the second goal. An emphatic finish past Sinisalo. So much coming down to St Mirren left hand side. The deliveries from Declan John into the box causing problems. Is that where Craig McLeish will be telling his players to try and push Celtic in extra time?
Yeah, I think as a player as well, when you're on the pitch in this sort of game, you can feel the nervousness of the opposition. They'll see that. They'll see how they haven't dealt with cross balls. Everything we spoke about at the top of the game, you would see St Mirren having a threat. First half didn't. That will be the regret after the game, depending how this game goes for Craig McLeish, if he'd maybe took that approach early on. But second half, what a response. It's all you can ask for. 2 goals into extra time, and St Mirren looked like the team was going to score the next one.
Interesting changes as well. Callum McGregor not 100% fit. He came off with Arnie Engels. Have Celtic lost something in that engine room, Scott?
I think the engine room for me, Roger, throughout the season has been a problem for Celtic. I think as the game goes on, they'll do lose control, and as you've seen that second half, they look so poor in both boxes. It just epitomises Celtic's season for me.
Just checking for more changes, Andrew. Of course, all 5 used during the 90 minutes by both managers, Craig McLeish and Martin Hughes, allowed 1 more in stoppage time. Well, I'm just checking to see, but I don't think there's any coming on right now. We're heading straight back into stoppage time.
1 for football in Glasgow and the West. 0141 951 1025. Clyde 1 Super Scoreboard.
Back underway at Hampden. Celtic 2, St Mirren 2, and it is into extra time in this Scottish Cup semi-final. A dramatic end to the game. Mikael Mandron scoring in injury time, which means we have another 30 minutes of action. 1 change for Celtic going into this extra period, and it was Benjamin Arthur off and Dane Murray on, and anything could happen in this next half an hour or so, as St Mirren have an opportunity at the front post, and it will go out for a St Mirren corner.
If you were to ask me now, I would say St Mirren look the likelier team to win this. It might go to penalties. Even at that, I'd fancy St Mirren to win on penalties. It's an embarrassing performance from Celtic to be 2 goals up against a side with a 17-year-old kid in goal because of emergency. It's utterly embarrassing. It's indicative of the serious decline that has gone on at Celtic, and now they're into this do or die section of the match, minus the captain McGregor, who's taken off, minus the vice captain Kieran Tierney taken off, and you get players out on that park who are looking at each other and saying, I didn't sign up for this.
Well, St Mirren look more confident.
Yep.
They'll fancy it. They know they were dead and buried. They had to get that goal at 2-0, and it just changed games. It just changed the game, and all of a sudden they grew in confidence. They started getting balls into the box, caused problems, and schoolboy defending helped them, certainly for the equaliser as well. But take nothing away from Mandron, it was a brilliant finish.
Yeah, Celtic put the early pressure on in extra time for the first couple of minutes, but the ball has been up the other end. St Mirren with another corner and another chance to put Celtic under some real pressure.
Well, Celtic are under real pressure anyway, but they have only themselves to blame, and now you're looking at a disjointed, disconnected, scruffy team with no real idea of what they're doing, and that's why I would fancy St Mirren now.
Good foul that to give away, do you think, from Mark O'Hara?
Yeah, Celtic try to break up the pitch through James Forrest. Mark O'Hara knows what he's doing. He's an experienced player, just takes the yellow card because he knows that Celtic were a threat there. But listen, Celtic have brought this upon themselves. The way they've approached this the second half was unacceptable. They had complete control, 2-0 up, and they just lacked energy, they lacked ideas, they lacked even, I think going into the second half they could have just controlled the game, but they didn't do anything.
Celtic may well go on to win this game, they may well go on to win the Scottish Cup, Gordon, but there will be big concerns for the rest of the season based on the fact that, you know, you get gifted a goal very early on in the game, 2-0 up, and are now forced to go to extra time against a team who find themselves in a relegation playoff scrap at the bottom of the Premiership.
Yeah, listen, we always say a semi-final, just get yourself in the final, but Celtic have got to be so disappointed with this. They get handed the perfect gift in the opening seconds of the game. Their goalkeeper gets taken off. They're a young 17-year-old in there. I've not asked any questions of the lad as the ball goes in.
Oh, and it is a goal for Celtic.
It's an on goal.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Kelechi Iheanacho celebrates. It was a James Forrest cross from the right. Not quite sure who got the final touch, but Kelechi Iheanacho looks as if he's claiming it, and Celtic are back ahead at Hampden.
I thought that was an on goal. I could be wrong here. I think Gogic gets the last touch. Great wing play from Forrest. Just drops his shoulder.
Or you got a good header.
Yeah. Is it?
No, I think it comes off Iheanacho. No, it's a really good header.
This is a really good header from Kelechi Iheanacho.
It's brilliant play from James Forrest. Just a turn of pace, beats the defender, stands that cross up, and it's a fantastic header. He's in between the two defenders and manages just to flick it past as the goalkeeper tries to advance. So it's a really good goal from Celtic's point of view.
James Forrest, old school. Just hit the byline and get it over.
But that's where Celtic are at the moment. They're relying back on James Forrest, and nothing against James Forrest because he's a fantastic player and he still is for me a really key player. But again, he's created that goal and he's pulled them out a massive hole. And
also the difference having a natural number 9 in there who's attacking that ball. Celtic haven't really had that. They've had strikers that have played up there. Kelechi Iheanacho has had his injury issues, but just got up, got into the right area, attacked that like a proper striker.
Yeah, he's the best centre forward at the club just now, no doubt on that. When he's fit, they're obviously nursing him through games. He's a big part to play. He'll get you goals. That was a striker's goal.
Well, could be another chance for Celtic, and the game has surely been put to bed.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Well, the Celtic fans will be wondering where was this for most of the game, because they've got themselves a second goal in extra time. This time a tidy finish from Luke McCowan, and Celtic are on their way to the Scottish Cup final.
I told you, a clairvoyant couldn't tell you what happens next in Scottish football. Who saw 2 goals in 1 minute coming for Celtic, who had been hopeless in front of goal all day long? It's a really neat finish from Luke McCowan.
It's a brilliant finish. James Forrest again tries to play the crossfield pass. It's really unfortunate from the St Mirren player. He tries to block it inadvertently, goes into Luke McCowan's path, but as you say, Hugh, a fantastic finish, just slides it past the young St Mirren goalkeeper.
James Forrest involved again. It wasn't a direct assist, of course, but tries to play that crossfield pass. It forces Connor McMenamin to slide in. He gets it all wrong and deflects it into the path of Luke McCowan, who still had a good bit to do. Yeah, it's a good finish. Forrest has looked lively since he come on. I just like the fact that for the third goal, he was so direct, typical wing play. He just drops his shoulder, he goes by the defender, puts a lovely ball in there, and they get their reward. But that's a sickening blow for St Mirren, because they must have fancied this. They must have looked at the Celtic team and thought, great opportunity, but all credit to Celtic. They've got the goals, they've got them at the right time. Surely now they can't throw this away. Well, I agree with you, and I know that the calls will all say that's what Celtic do, but I think you have to examine Celtic a little more deeply than that. They've spent the whole season long getting out of jail, and I have to praise them for that, but this is not a title winning team. A real double blow for St Mirren. I mean, for them to think they've got any chance now, it'll be a really tough sort of mental battle for the players wanting to pick themselves back up. Yeah, definitely. I think the goals in quick succession will settle Celtic down. They'll take control of the game, which I expected them to do when they were 2-0 up at half time. But I think it's a real blow for St Mirren, that fourth goal going in, because if they'd weathered the storm and they'd managed to just hang in there with one goal deficit, then there's always that opportunity at a set piece or getting up the pitch later on in extra time. But I think the game's done for them now. A chance again for Celtic.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
And it's Kelechi Iheanacho with the finish off the bench. He's got 2 goals, and Celtic, incredibly, 5-2 up.
Can't believe it. And neither can St Mirren. But that really and truly now is the end of the game. But Iheanacho, what a contribution. And McCowan, to be fair to him, big contribution. So incredible stuff from such a miserable regulation 90 minutes to...
It's too easy, Hugh. They just stand up. They stand off him.
Yeah.
He's in the penalty box. He gets time to just control the ball, turn round, face up to the goalkeeper and just slide it by him. Look at the defenders here.
Awful.
It's a great finish.
That's brilliant.
It's a great finish. But if you're looking at that as a St Mirren defender, you're thinking, who's going to... You can't allow a player with the quality to do that, because he'll just punish you. Look, so easy.
It's a fantastic finish, don't get me wrong, but you're absolutely right. He needs to go tight to him and again ask him to beat him, but he just stands and uses the defender's body as a guide to guide it in past the goalkeeper, and it's a brilliant finish.
I accept the defensive liabilities, but 3 very good goals from Celtic's perspective. Incredibly so. They spent the whole afternoon looking dire and then hit 3 goals in the matter of minutes, and there's more to come.
Yeah, there could well be, because Dalziel Maeda's into the St Mirren box. He lays it across, and there is Benjamin Nygren.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
I'm not sure I've ever witnessed anything like this. 4 goals from Celtic in the first half of extra time.
Yeah, it's surreal now. The game has taken on a surreal aspect. St Mirren started extra time believing that a real shock was on. Third bottom knocking out third top. But they have been ripped apart. And I repeat, where was this in the 94 regulation minutes that we had? The Celtic looked uninspired, and now they look turbocharged.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. It's that man Dalziel Maeda again, just taking the, closing down, gets his head up, and they've got all the space in the world in 18 yards. It's just a nice side foot, easy goal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Goalkeeper, absolute no chance. 6-2. Thank you very much. I think that's the game done and dusted now.
Yes. What's the biggest extra time margin of victory?
I would like to know that, actually, because not often you see a team score 4 goals in extra time full stop, never mind 4 goals in the first half of extra time. Because Celtic, every time they go forward now, they look as if they're going to score. If Celtic rack up another couple of goals, you're looking at a team winning 7 or 8-2 in a game that went to extra time.
Bizarre. But St Mirren now shell-shocked, doesn't begin to cover it. They're now like a boxer on the ropes who is unable to defend himself. If it was boxing, a referee would have stepped in by this time and put one arm across the other as the St Mirren fans leave Hampden. In boxing, this would have been stopped now.
Yeah, as you say, these St Mirren supporters, some of them have seen enough. They are on their way to the exits of Hampden. We have seen some crazy things this season, but St Mirren taking this game to penalties is not going to be one of them.
No. We're now just trying to see how many Celtic can score in extra time, and will it be the highest recorded extra time win? Because 4 up, 15 minutes to go. Celtic could bring me on now and still get there.
Getting some good stats from producer Jay on games that have had a lot of goals in extra time. He's found one with 7 goals scored in extra time between the two teams. Victoria Kulm against TSG Usunyan in Germany. It was 0-0 at full time, finished 6-1.
That's a fantastic find by producer Jay.
A few other ones. 5 goals scored in extra time between Italy and Germany in the 1970 World Cup. There's a couple from down south as well in cup competitions. 4 and 5 goals scored in extra time.
But the contrast in Celtic is just bewildering. And the Celtic supporters will say that's what Celtic do. but I cling to the point. You've got games now against Motherwell, Rangers, Hearts, Hibs, and another shell-shocked Falkirk. Defending the way they did won't get you past those clubs.
Yeah, listen, Martin and they'll be absolutely delighted to get to the final, and we've said it before, they'll go in as firm favourites, but I think he will certainly identify that the second half is unacceptable from Celtic, because they were in so much control. And again, you're right, Hugh, they're going to face better teams than this, so they're going to have to be a lot better over a period of the game. They've been excellent in extra time, got their goals, got the victory, and it's job done, but there's certainly warning signs within that second half performance.
Yeah, just a 1 minute was added to the first half of extra time, so we are most of the way through that as St Mirren had a chance to try and get the ball into the Celtic box, but it's overhit by Jayden Richardson, and the half-time whistle of extra time is just about to come. So we will go to Roger and Scott at Hampden right now, who can sum up what on earth we have just seen in extra time.
Half time and extra time, Andrew. Celtic 6, St Mirren 2. Saints fans thought they were heading back to Hampden for a Scottish Cup final when Michael Mandron sent this try into extra time with that stoppage time equaliser. But Celtic have just put their foot on the gas and taken it away from the League Cup winners. Kelechi Iheanacho off the bench to score twice. Luke McCowan also off the bench to get one in between that. Then Benjamin Negrin's 20th goal of the season for the Hoops. 4 goals squeezed into an incredible 6-minute spell in the middle of this first half of extra time. Scott Allen, in your long career, have you ever seen 15 minutes like that?
Absolutely. I don't think Martin O'Neill's probably seen anything quite like that either in his long career. I just don't want anybody to ask me another prediction in the game in Scottish football again. How could we have foreseen that happening in the first half of extra time? At the same time, you've got to give credit to Celtic. Again, a team defined by this season playing in patches. They once again have done it again. Iheanacho undoubtedly shows why everyone's calling for him to start games for Celtic. 2 fantastic goals, the header, and the second one for me is a fantastic cultured finish, and they've absolutely blew St Mirren away in extra time.
You see the involvement of Iheanacho with those 2 goals. Luke McCowan's got one. James Forrest has sparkled since he came off the bench. Are these guys that Martin O'Neill might need to turn to now in the run in towards this Premiership title, Scott?
Yeah, listen, guys have been given opportunity today and haven't quite taken their chance again. But I just think throughout the squad, Martin O'Neill and probably his coaching staff still at this stage of the season don't quite know what their strongest team is, because you look at first half, or early part of the first half, there were some good signs. Second half, from Celtic's perspective, the standards were way off, and then once again rallied themselves in extra time and blow St Mirren away. But Iheanacho is the key, that number 9 position for me. Neil Lennon, the Dunfermline manager, sitting in front of us watching this. What will he think, given that it's his Dunfermline team that will need to deal with this Celtic team and his mentor, Martin O'Neill, back here on the 23rd of May? I think he'll understand what we spoke about between us and the guys in the studio, is you've got to make contact against these Celtic players, put them under pressure, make them defend, similar to what they've done it in spells against Falkirk yesterday. But once the chance presents itself, you'll have to take them and then be asked to defend well. But it'll be a big ask for Dunfermline against Celtic in the final, but this Celtic team isn't as fluent as we've seen over the years.
You've heard the phrase, Andrew, there's always someone worse off than yourself. I think it's Scott's hands or St Mirren are sending him on. Celtic 6, St Mirren 2, we're back underway.
Well, we have seen some incredible games of football this season, and this one is right up there with the best of them. Celtic taking a 2-goal lead in the Scottish Cup final, semi-final I should say, against St Mirren. St Mirren equalising for 2-2 in injury time of the 90 minutes, and Celtic have stormed to a 6-2 lead in extra time, and we still have 15 minutes to go.
Astonishing. You simply run out of words with regard to this season, but as I say, the 4 goals in the first half of extra time is surreal from a side who were so poor for 94 minutes in the original part of the match. It's over and done with. It's now just an interest in, can Celtic score another 1 or 2? But it's for Martin O'Neill to go away and assess all of that performance, because defensively they were a horror story in the second half of regulation time, an absolute horror story, and lost 2 goals as a consequence. He has to address that, because next weekend it's Falkirk, the first of the post-split fixtures. If they play as they did in regulation time, the post-split fixtures will be an ordeal for them.
Yeah, a couple of Celtic substitutes have made a huge impact, and with massive games to come this season, the likes of Kelechi Iheanacho, James Forrest have certainly done a good job of trying to stake a claim to play more football between now and the end of the season. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They've been the difference. They have been the difference. That's why Celtic have got over the line. They've got their goals because of them two that you mentioned. Scott mentioned that players that were given the opportunity didn't show up, didn't take that opportunity. So listen, James Forrest will be knocking on the door. He'll want to play games of football, of course he will. And Iheanacho up front as well. As I said it, he is Celtic's best striker. Certainly I think that as well.
The problem, Cammy, and it's not an original thought, he simply cannot keep fit.
Yeah.
But if they can keep him fit, there'd be a tremendous advantage, because when they started the game with Tinekti, Maeda, Yang, it just had the look of not very much about it, and so it proved to be.
Yeah, the word blunt has been used about Celtic's attack numerous times in the last few weeks, but that 6-minute spell, I mean, I know circumstances are different. It goes to extra time. You're maybe against some more tired legs in that regard. You've got some substitutes on. Can Celtic take, some real confidence from that they haven't been scoring goals, on a consistent basis, and they've now got 6 of them in one game and could get another here, but Sorachi's ball across the face is cleared?
Yeah, of course you've got to take confidence as young goalkeeper having a good save there. You've got to take the confidence of scoring the goals. I totally agree. I don't think it's been a very good performance for Celtic in the second half of the game, and all credit to St Mirren. Caused them a lot of problems, but the minute the extra time went, Celtic just went up the gears and they punished St Mirren for bad defending. I think James Forrest has been excellent since he's come on. He's not just hugging the touchline, he's playing inside as well, he's causing problems, puts a great ball in for a third goal, and that's what you've got with him, bags and bags of experience, and he knows how to win trophies, and he'll be a big player for them between now and the end of the season.
You feel a bit for Grant Tamosavicius in the St Mirren goal, because it's not as if he's done a whole lot wrong.
No.
And then he'll find himself on the end of a 6-2 scoreline.
Yeah, but listen, as I mentioned before, at the start of the week, he would have never ever thought he was be entering the pitch at Hampden today. He's got the opportunity. I think he's done fine. I think he's made a couple of decent saves. He's looked confident within the game. His kicking's been good. So yeah, listen, he can be proud of himself today.
Celtic into the box once again. Kelechi Iheanacho looking for a hat-trick, but he is denied by Tamosavicius.
I think the young goalkeeper would be asking one or two defenders to give him a little bit of help here.
Yeah.
It's just too easy.
Yep.
Another good save.
Yep.
It's just too easy. They're getting too much space and time. I still see there another goal in this game, no problem at all.
St Mirren just look dead on their feet now, but I suppose mentally and physically it'll take its toll.
Yeah, you're just wanting out of there. Your fans are away home. Your first half goalkeeper's probably away home. You're just wanting on that team bus and start looking to see if you can stay in the Premier League.
Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain goes very deep with a looped corner delivery. It has stayed in play and is over the bar from Austin Trusty.
I mean, the Celtic players now, smiles on their faces and really enjoying themselves. As well they might, being 6-2 up, but it's as if they played in the dark for 94 minutes and then somebody put a light on.
I think Trusty's got to score her.
Yeah.
I don't know if the ball was out. Was it originally out for Maeda at the back post? I don't think it was. But St Mirren are just standing watching Celtic players having a shot at their goalkeeper. He's really got to do better. I thought that was a great chance for him.
I'd love to think someone out there saw the game at 2-0 and couldn't watch the rest of the 90 minutes for whatever reason and has switched back on now to see it's 6-2 in extra time.
Probably Martin O'Neill. Probably just come out for the dressing room.
Well, St Mirren did have the ball in and around Celtic's box for the first minute or so of the second half of extra time, but it's just reverted really to Celtic just dominating things, and St Mirren will just be hoping not to take any more damage between now and the 10 minutes time when the full time whistle goes.
Yeah, they just want the full time whistle. The damage was done with them 2 quick goals early on in extra time. Once the Celtic got them 2 quick goals, and that was the game over. And then you can see how St Mirren have reacted to that. They look sapped of energy. They're just dragging their way through this second period of extra time. So yeah, they're just looking for the full time whistle.
The one thing Martin O'Neill will be happy is the fact that his substitutes have made a difference.
Yeah.
You know, they've come on the pitch and you created, scored goals and really put the game to bed. So he'll be happy with that, because he's looking for a reaction when you make the substitutions.
St Mirren trying to cause some problems of their own, but it's good defending in the end by Anthony Ralston.
Well, I repeat, the best I can do for you. For 94 minutes it looked as if Celtic were playing in the dark, and then somebody put all the lights on in the house, and they can now move about, and they've scored quality goals, suspect defending but quality finishing, and they're out of sight now and looking for another one to send the fans home happy. But it's an afternoon that's going to have to be properly looked at, because it's got a bit of everything good and bad about it.
Yeah, it's been a strange afternoon. You could see Martin O'Neill's face there. He doesn't look happy. I think he'll just be wondering why his team ends up in this extra time period, the way they handled that second half. Yes, they've been excellent in extra time. They're going to get the job done. They're going to be in a final, but certainly there's warning signs there that they need to be better.
Cammy, they're in extra time at a time when Rangers have been and Hearts have been for warm weather training, bit of rest. Celtic getting taken to extra time by the team at third bottom of the league.
The only thing, Hugh, there's plenty of time from now to next week recovery. It's just injuries you're hoping not to pick up. He's used a lot of his substitutions, so he's got minutes into players as well. Look, I think they'll just be delighted to be in the final. It's as simple as that. They will not take any great confidence for the performance, but they've scored 6 goals, they're in a final, and they'll get into that final heavy favourites.
Yeah, a ball over the top of the Celtic defence is never going to trouble them at this stage. Dane Murray just clearing the ball forward, and you've got to think that St Mirren, I mean, what does this do for them psychologically? Because there would have been a lot of positives they could have taken from that second half, but you're then left with a bit of a hammering.
Yeah, it's a strange one for St Mirren, because the second half they were excellent. They were really, really good. There's been a lot of adversity for them within the game, with losing that early goal from a goalkeeping error to then losing your goalkeeper and having to put a kid on the pitch. So yeah, listen, there's elements to the game that I think they can take a lot of positives from, but there's also the goals when they look back. For me, they've been poor goals to concede. They've not helped their young goalkeeper, certainly some of their experienced defenders.
I mean, I've said it. I think the Falkirk result yesterday will seriously impact Falkirk for the post-split fixtures. I think people were looking at Falkirk going to Celtic Park. Don't bother looking now. And we're talking about Falkirk at home to Rangers on the last day of the season. Nah. They looked shell-shocked yesterday, and St Mirren have the same damaging effect to deal with, but St Mirren's need is far, far greater. Falkirk will finish in the top 6. It doesn't matter if they lose all 5 games after the split. It does not matter at all. But for St Mirren, the dangerous stuff is just around the corner.
You were mentioning Celtic having a break now just for the rest of the week. One team that don't have a break, Dunfermline, back in action on Tuesday. Neil Lennon saying after the game that the players were back into training today.
Yeah, well, that's your job.
You would have been raging. Reaching a Scottish Cup final
100%.
and been told that you've got training the next day. You would have been fuming.
100% I would have been, yes. But
Dunfermline back in training, and the manager's on the telly talking about another game.
I'm assuming that they were maybe in early this morning.
Little recovery session.
Yeah. They do have big games coming up as they look to secure
you just got to listen.
place.
If you're in a Scottish Cup final, you're happy with big games coming up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the 23rd of May. There's nothing better than walking out of Hampden. There's a Scottish Cup final, lovely day, and it's the final game. So brilliant. Something to look forward to. Never won it right enough. I always would get beat, so it was never a good Saturday for me. But getting the cup final, can't beat it.
Yeah, there is a cut to the leg of Benjamin Negron. Not actually sure what challenge that happened in. Sorry, it's Daisen Maeda. I just saw the number 8 on the shorts, and then it zoomed out to show that it's actually 38 of Daisen Maeda. It's like a pretty nasty looking cut on his thigh.
As we said earlier, the extra time carries the danger, another 30 minutes of danger that you incur an injury that you could do without.
Well, showing in the stands, Alistair Johnson, who still isn't back fit but could well be back fit. He's had a full week of training this week. Could be back for Celtic's first post-split game, the same as Callum Osmond as well.
That'd be a big boost for him. I think he's sadly missed, as much as I think Ralston's done alright today, got a great goal as well, but you want your big hitters back, and he certainly for me is the best right back at the club by a country mile.
He offers something different than Ralston. I think Ralston's had a good game, actually.
I
think he's had a decent game. When you look at the Celtic players, he's probably been one of their better players.
And if you're talking about Negron there, that's 20 goals this season for a midfield player. So he'll be happy with that return so far.
He made it into the PFA Scotland Team of the Year, of course voted by the players. We've not had the reaction from the two of you on that, so maybe that's something that we'll look into, because we do have a good bit of time left. We are here until 6 o'clock, and we'll have the open line as soon as this match finishes. So it'll be your reaction to everything that's happened today, everything that happened yesterday. So I want to hear from you, Celtic fans, St Mirren fans, Dunfermline fans, Falkirk fans. Maybe you've got some thoughts on something else. We will get you involved after this game finishes and before 6 o'clock,
which will be in less than 2 minutes' time. Martin O'Neill still has that bemused look in his face.
He doesn't look happy, does he?
I think we've all got a bit of a bemused look in our face just after today's events.
He's probably sitting there looking out thinking, I could have been in my steak pie dinner in it.
Even my grandson has texted his old granddad to say, what on earth has just happened? So he's watching the game in Brighton, wondering, like the rest of us, where did that come from?
Yeah, it has been a crazy game. The player of the match, as picked by the TV broadcasters, Daisen Maeda. You're not having that?
No.
Who would you have gone for? Anthony Ralston?
No, I'd have went for Mullen.
Don't kick him while he's down. Come on.
I'm only kidding. Listen, there's nothing worse. That guy will be feeling dreadful tonight. But I thought Ralston, for his goal, getting up and down the pitch, I think he's done all right. There's not anybody that you're thinking they've been outstanding.
Also tough to give it to the players that have come on and made an impact just because they've only played extra time. I suppose Kelechi Iheanacho, James Forrest have had a telling influence in the game.
Yeah, I think Forrest has been very good since he come on. And
not such a good effort from Kelechi Iheanacho there.
Straight out for a throw-in.
Yeah. Keen to get his hat-trick though, as any striker would be. Craig McLeish will have a lot to think about as the camera focuses in on him. I can't imagine we'll have much in the way of injury time. And we will go and speak to Roger Hanna and Scott Allen, who will give us the full-time picture from the National Stadium on what has been quite an incredible weekend of Scottish Cup semi-final action. It is going to be Celtic against Dunfermline. It's going to be Martin O'Neill against Neil Lennon. And it is full-time. Roger and Scott.
It is Celtic 6 and Mirren 2. Andrew, Celtic, as you say, back here at Hampden for the Scottish Cup final on May the 23rd. Martin O'Neill versus Neil Lennon, Dunfermline, the Sorcerer O'Neill. 3 Scottish Cup wins with Celtic versus the apprentice Lennon. 8 Scottish Cup wins as player and boss at hoops. O'Neill's side made heavy weather of this semi-final for long spells, but 4 goals in an incredible 6-minute period in the first half of extra time won it for the hoops. So with goals at either end of the first half by Daisen Maeda and Anthony Ralston, at Celtic cruising. Saints lost goalkeeper Ryan Mullen. Between those goals was 17-year-old Grant Tamasavicius on for his debut, but incredibly St Mirren rallied in the second half. Michael Mandron hauled them back into the game when he planted a header back across Voljami Sinisalo, and then Mandron lashed an equaliser past Sinisalo as the game lapsed into stoppage time. That sent us to extra time, but Celtic simply moved through the gears. Kelechi Iheanacho and Luke McCowan both off the bench to net in quick succession to finally shake off the stubborn Saints. Iheanacho then fired another high past teenage keeper Tamasavicius before Benjamin Nygren hit his 20th goal of the season. It all started in chaotic fashion. 58 seconds in, St Mirren keeper Ryan Mullen took a pass back by Miguel Freckles and a clumsy touch closed down by Maida. The clearance hit the Celtic centre forward and spun into the net. Arnie Engels then struck the post in 8 minutes, and that just before Mullen went down injured. He had to come off with Thomas Avicius on for his first team debut. The team keeper made fine saves to deny Nygren and Maida. There was then a corner at the other end, and Vujami Sinisalo had to excel with a great save from a header from Liam Donnelly. Yang Hyun Jun then headed against the bar after 37 minutes, but Celtic went 2 up 3 minutes into stoppage time at the end of the first half. Yang, the creator, teeing up Anthony Nelson for a fierce right foot finish in the angle off the underside of the bar. Celtic looked to be cruising at that stage, but they collapsed in the second half. 53 minutes, it was 2-1, a deep cross in the left by Declan John, the header at the back post by Mandron. Sinisalo made a double save in 87 to keep out Mandron, but the big striker was not to be denied, and in 90 minutes Miguel Freckles to substitute Jake Young. Mandron ran onto the ball and an emphatic right foot finish past Sinisalo. The Buddies fans were sensing another tough upset against Celtic here at Hampden after that League Cup final win in December, but Celtic moved through the gears in extra time. Iheanacho headed home from James Forrest's cross in 96 minutes. 2 minutes later McCowan took advantage of a misplaced clearance for Saint sub Conor McMenamin to guide a low shot into the net. In 100 minutes it was 5-2. Iheanacho a fine finish high past the young keeper to put a gloss in the scoreline, and there was still time 2 minutes later for a sixth. Maida cross into Nygren, an easy finish into the net. The Celtic supporters that have gone round to the acclaim of their fans. Scott Allen, what an incredible 120 minutes.
It really was. Listen, at the end of the day, I think for Celtic it's job done into the final, but the job could have been done a lot easier than they made it for themselves. That second half performance will be a worry coming into these post-split fixtures now for Celtic, and that'll be what Celtic fans will be looking at after they obviously celebrate getting into a final. But that first half extra time was enough to get them through. Some of the goals outstanding, and where they found that extra bit of energy. James Forrest obviously a catalyst for it for me, and Iheanacho showing his quality and why we all think if they can keep him fit he has to start for Celtic.
It's difficult to know what to make of Celtic. Good in the first half, dreadful in the second half, incredibly good in that first half of extra time. What did he take from this, Scott, into these 5 post-split league fixtures, starting with Falkirk and Saturday night?
Well, I think they've got to understand that performance over 90 minutes isn't going to be enough to win in the league come the end of the season, and that's what you said just moments ago. Celtic have been a team all season, Roger, that's played in moments. I just don't think moments at this stage of the season will see them throughout the title. It's got to be changing the starting line. I think you look at James Forrest when he comes in, he offered far more than Tanecki, for instance. He's a guy who's been there, he's been over the line so many years. Celtic's obviously the most decorated player. Sometimes at this stage of the season you have to have guys who you can rely upon. James Forrest for me is one that they can rely upon, and obviously the situation with Iheanacho, we just don't know what the actual script is with him. Is he fit? Can he stay fit? Is he injured? Can he only play a certain amount of minutes? It's no getting away from it. He is the best striker, as Dad said in the studio. The
flip side of this is St Mirren now go into post-split fixture to try and secure their Premiership safety. They'll have to do it without Shamal George, who's in a moon boot. They might have to do it without Ryan Mullen, who limped off with that injury after just quarter of an hour. They've got a 17-year-old Grand Thomas Avicius waving to his family going off the pitch here. What will they do for a goalkeeper for the run-in?
Well, they'll be able to get an emergency loan in, won't they? There'll be an experienced hand come in and obviously be the goalkeeper for him. But I would like to say I actually thought he'd done really well. I don't think there was much he could do with any of the goals, maybe just positioning for any actual header, but to come in and make your debut in a Hampden semi-final against Celtic and actually come away off the back of that scoreline, and if you're held head high, I think he deserves a lot of credit. And this season that keeps giving storyline after storyline will finish here on the last day of the season with Martin O'Neill against his protege Neil Lennon. It's going to be an incredible, never met before as managers, it'll be an incredible afternoon. It really will. Celtic obviously going as favourites, Dunfermline being that championship team. How their fixture list looks going into that cup final as well. Can you your team fit? Potentially playoff games for Dunfermline, but that Neil Lennon and Martin O'Neill final, it's got a bit of romanticism about it. Celtic going as strong favourites. Unbelievable afternoon here, Andrew. Scott Allen asked me 2 minutes before kick-off, do you think he'll be back in the house for Man City Arsenal? After this he might not be back in the house for late call. Celtic 6, St Mirren 2.
What an incredible afternoon of football. What an incredible weekend of football in the Scottish Cup semi-finals. And it's not done because it's over to you. 0141 951 1025. So many talking points from today. Celtic fans, what were your concerns about that performance in the 90 minutes? What did you like about extra time? Winning 4-0 in extra time for a 6-2 victory overall. How happy are you with getting to the Scottish Cup final? What can that victory do for the rest of your domestic season in this title race? 0141 951 1025. On the flip side, St Mirren fans, what do you take away from that? Because you'll have been happy with the performance in the 90 minutes, especially that second half performance, but all fell to pieces in extra time. And we're going to reflect on that game yesterday between Dunfermline and Falkirk. Dunfermline through to the Scottish Cup final. We'll hear a bit from Neil Lennon and John McGlynn. We'll try and hear from the managers involved in today's match as well, but more importantly, we want to hear from you. 0141 951 1025. Get your calls in now and we'll speak to you next.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with White and Mackay, where wit, wisdom and experience still make occasional last-minute appearances. Smoothly does it.
The all-new, all-electric Toyota CHR Plus. Sleek, stylish and quietly reliable. Available with 0% APR representative with £1,500 deposit contribution and save £1,500 with the electric car grant. Get that Toyota electric feeling. Visit your nearest Toyota centre. Price from 34495. Available on Toyota PCP when financed through Toyota Financial Services by 30th of June 2026. Optional final payment. Indemnities may be required. See website T's and C's apply.
Switch to PlusNet's award-winning full fibre from just $22.99 a month. Our sweet deal gets you fast and reliable broadband with no activation fee. With speeds up to 900 megabits. Ooh, feels like a sugar rush. Full fibre that's full of value. That's a plus. Offer ends 6th of May. 24 months, $26.99 from the 31st of March 2027. $30.99 from the 31st of March 2028. New customers only. 62% UK availability. Terms apply.
At Tesco, we know that beans
means Heinz.
And you love to ask, have you had yours? All of you.
Love it.
Hate it. And because
I'm worth it.
When you need low prices on brands you love, like 150 grams of Heinz beans, 12-pack of Weetabix, 250 grams of Marmite, or 700 millilitres of L'Oreal Elvive Colour Protect shampoo, look out for the Everyday Low Prices logo in-store and online. Tesco. Every little helps. Everyday Low Prices includes thousands of products across the majority of larger stores and online. Prices held until the 10th of May. Selected branded products only.
This season, I want to feel it from the start. From the whistle. From the first touch. Want to beat the odds. Want to take an early lead. Want to see why he costs so much money. Want to shout pen before the ref is even called in. Want to see the call go our way for once. I want to hear their lot go quiet. Want to see them leave early. Want to drop into the group chat to tell them I've seen the future. Want to hear them agree. And if not, I'll say, want to bet? Bet Fred. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
After they play, you have your say. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
What an incredible game we have seen at Hampden. It finished Celtic 6, St Mirren 2. But that doesn't even really tell half the story, because it was 2-2 at the end of 90 minutes. Celtic scoring 4 times in extra time. There was a mistake right at the start of the game by St Mirren's stand-in goalkeeper Ryan Mullen. He got injured and a 17-year-old had to come in and replace him. It has been quite the day. That means Celtic will meet Dunfermline in the Scottish Cup final to cap off this season, which the season has pretty much been summed up by that 90 minutes and then extra time that we saw today, Hugh.
I'm with Scott Allen on this one. Scott said he never wants to predict the outcome of a football match in this country, certainly for the remainder of this season. What can you say? They scored 6 times, 5 different goal scorers. They're in the cup final. Martin O'Neill versus Neil Lennon. There is still the possibility of a league and cup double. They'll go away and assess the performance, and good luck with that, because it will take longer to assess the performance than it did to play the game. But another wonderful story, a whole series of stories, a young goalkeeper of 17 who did very, very well, but was as bewildered as all of his teammates when Celtic scored 4 first half goals in extra time and 4 really good finishes. So I don't know anymore.
0141 951 1025. We are taking your calls all the way through until 6 o'clock. We have a lot to get through as well, so make sure to get those calls in nice and early if you want to get through. Let's speak to Josh, who is a Celtic fan, up first. Josh, what on earth do you take away from that game today?
Oh, it was bonkers, wasn't it? But I think it masked the problems going into extra time. I think the 90 minutes highlighted again what we've been accustomed to seeing from Celtic recently. They were kind of, trying to close the game out at 2-1. It was getting more and more nervous. There was that cloud over it. And then it does go 2-2, and you're thinking, that the momentum will all be with St Mirren now. But the tiredness caught up with them. I thought great use of the substitutes of Iheanacho and Forrest. They added dynamism and a bit of energy into the game. I thought Maeda's press was exceptional from minute one as well, so that kind of set the tone for us. The fact that, where's this been for the last few weeks? So, right from the get-go, that press. Cammy, the 17-year-old goalkeeper, in any other position on the pitch, you're under far less scrutiny. You look at the likes of Max Stallman at Arsenal and Rio at Liverpool, they've been kind of bedded in as young 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. But when you're thrown into a game like that as a goalkeeper, Cammy, what's your thoughts on that from that side of it?
Yeah, listen, I felt as if the young goalkeeper done fantastic today, handled the situation, and a situation he wasn't prepared for. Certainly at the start of the week when Shamal George was training, he'd have just been going along as the third goalkeeper, enjoying the experience, and then he finds he's still on the pitch in a high pressure situation, and for me he handled it brilliantly for a 17-year-old kid. Done really well throughout the game, and he looked confident. The longer the game went on, I felt as if the confidence grew within himself. I don't think his teammates helped him out at times with the goals that they conceded. They could have helped him a little bit more, but yeah, listen, it's great to see that he got that experience in such a high pressure game, and he handled it really well.
Yeah, what's absolutely incredible is that I'll say we have Manchester City against Arsenal on in the studio, and we've just seen Gianluigi Donnarumma do pretty much exactly the same, not far off what Ryan Mullen did in the game at the start of Celtic St Mirren, when the ball came back to him, took a touch, tried to play out, Kai Havertz then gets in there and it deflects into the net.
It's just incredible. We're sitting here
goalkeeper.
and
what is going on?
I genuinely don't know what's happening today, because again, Sinisalo got away with two actually in the game, and then we've just watched Donnarumma, who's one of the world's best goalkeepers, do the exact same as what Ryan Mullen done. So yeah, it's just been an incredible day.
I think you make a good point there about the young goalkeeper coming on. What an experience it is for him, and he can be proud of his performance. But I do agree with you. I think some of the St Mirren players should have helped him out a little bit more. Some of the goals were too easy. You know what I mean? Getting too much, it's giving Celtic players too much space, too much time in the 18-yard box, and they just side-footed the ball by the young kid. So, as I say, he come on there, he wasn't expecting it. A young boy at 17 to come on to a semi-final, he can hold his head up. He done okay.
Scott Allen is still at Hampden for us. Josh was talking about, what changed the game in Celtic's favour in extra time. What do you feel it was for you? Josh mentioned the substitutes. He mentioned the fact that St Mirren were tiring. What was the standout to you?
I don't know about tiring. I thought actually there was a few chances, wasn't there? I think Dane Murray actually gets a fantastic block from across. It looks as if it's going on target, and then after that, I think sometimes you just got to put it down to individual pride in some of the Celtic players. James Forrest being one of them, who's been there and done it. He obviously comes up with the first moment of real quality for them, and then after that the tails are up. And I always feel if you lose that goal in extra time, especially being the St Mirren players, you are deflated, and then they just couldn't recover for that first half. After that they then settled the game's obviously away from them, but for me Celtic just blew them away. I remember being here myself in a League Cup final with Hibs and Celtic. We scored a goal, the whole stadium was still celebrating, and Kyogo scored literally straight from kickoff. And it just shows you how quickly games can turn.
Can I tell you something, Scott? That day Hibs have scored, and I'm in here as part of the team on the programme, and I start to say, and that could be the only goal of this game. And before I got to game, Kyogo had scored to make it 1-1.
Not good memories. We should have had a penalty in the last minute just to get that in as well. But anyway, my point is, I just felt in that first half of extra time, I think it then becomes that personal pride in Celtic's players. Looking at quality, and Iheanacho and James Forrest, if they do turn up, then they should hurt you, and they did in that first period of extra time, and that was enough obviously to steamroller St Mirren for that part of the game.
I was going to say, sorry Scott, did they look like players with a point to prove. Maybe not, James Forrest has done it all at Celtic. He's won absolutely everything. He may just feel he wants more game time than he's getting this season. Kelechi Iheanacho has had his injury issues. Did they look like two players that wanted to go out there and make a statement?
Yeah, I feel when you're a good side, I think connections on a pitch are crucial, and I do feel because of the ability levels of both the players. Yes, James is getting older and Iheanacho isn't fit, but they're both proper footballers. So when you have that connection, and they two certainly do, James Forrest does what he does best, gets at his opponent direct and just lifts a lovely ball into the box. And it's a fantastic header, to be fair, from Iheanacho. They just look like two guys who have a connection, and getting into that split, you need to have players who have that. You look at the first half, yes, there was some good goal, but Taneke, Maeda and Yang, there's not much of them looking as if they're on the same wavelength. We've seen Celtic wingers the last couple of years where they used to go from one side to the other, and someone would be in the back post with a tap in, all on the same wavelength. That Celtic team, for most of the 90 minutes, don't look like a team on the same wavelength.
It's different because you talk about James Forrest. James Forrest goes back to the traditional winger. He drops his shoulder, he goes towards the byline and puts a lovely ball in there for a goal. You look at all the subs for Celtic, you can put Luke McCowan into that as well. He got on the goals this afternoon. So there's a lot there that Martin O'Neill will look at and think, right, okay, bit of positives, but there's other bits of Celtic just now it's a bit worrying getting into the splits.
Josh, what does that first period of extra time for you do in terms of maybe team selection going forward for these games? Are there players there that you feel need to play, players that maybe shouldn't play?
Well, it'll give the lads a lot of confidence moving forward, won't it? As opposed to winning 2-1, you've kind of gone in, you've played an extra 30 minutes, that could catch up with you ultimately. But in terms of winning, that was the main thing. You took the hard route to get there, but the actual extra time first period was, showed what Celtic are capable of with that attacking verve and dynamism. It is in there somewhere, and I think if Iheanacho's fit, he has to start the game. So that's been a stumbling block perhaps all season, that they can't keep him fit long enough. He's an exciting player. He's proved it at the clubs that he's been at, notably Leicester, Man City, Sevilla. He's been around the block. So for me, if Iheanacho's fit fully, he has to play 90 minutes and start. That would be the overriding thought from my point of view.
You have to look at the defence as well. They really have to look at the defence. Scales suspended, not playing today, but they were all over the place in the 94 minutes before we got to extra time. Second half, I kept on saying they're holding on. They're really holding on. I mean, it was ludicrous.
The goal they concede, the second goal to take it into extra time, is ridiculous. And again, it's so poor from a Celtic point of view. They've got two centre halves up against man drawn. None of them take responsibility. There's 4 minutes have just been lifted, so you're at the end of the game. You see it out. You've not been at your best. You don't go extra time. You see it out. None of them switch on. It's just a flicked ball over the top. Nobody takes responsibility. It's a brilliant finish from Mandron, but the Celtic defence is vulnerable at this moment in time.
Well, thank you to Josh. We'll also say thank you to Scott Allen as well, who has been at Hampden along with Roger Hanna. We'll let Scott get on his way. Roger Hanna down speaking to the managers, so we'll hopefully hear from them before the end of the show. And of course we'll hear from you as well, because we are here until 6 o'clock, and so will Gordon Dalziel, Cammy Bell and Hugh Keevins to take your calls. 01419511025. You could be up next.
It's Clyde One Super Scoreboards Open Line 0141 951 1025.
Well, we now know the Scottish Cup final lineup that's happening at the end of this season. It's going to be Celtic against Dunfermline. It's going to be Martin O'Neill against Neil Lennon. And many people were saying that there wasn't too much drama in the Dunfermline-Falkirk game yesterday up until the end. Well, there was certainly drama between Celtic and St Mirren. 2-2 in normal time. That was with St Mirren basically gifting Celtic a goal after 55 seconds. St Mirren scored in the 92nd minute to take the game to extra time, and then Celtic scored 4 goals in the first half of extra time for a 6-2 victory. We want to hear your thoughts, because we are here up until 6 o'clock tonight. 01419511025 on the phones. Paul is a Celtic fan in Cowglen. Paul, how did you see that one today?
Evening panel, how you doing? It was a good game for the neutrals, wasn't it? Good game.
Absolutely.
But my main point really was just right from the beginning. Going into the split, we need to start Iheanacho. He needs to start the games He's scored 2 quick goals in quick succession. He's the best finisher by far. There's no long left in the season. I know his legs are made of tissue paper, right? But just get him on at the beginning, get a couple of early goals and settle the rest of the team down.
If Martin O'Neill thought that Iheanacho could start games, he would be starting games, but he clearly doesn't think so. So you have to take him in short spurts, and he is productive in that way, certainly highly productive today, scored twice, but it's not a case of Celtic have got to start with him. Celtic can't start with him because he's unable to go any more than half an hour without medical supervision.
I'm finding that very surprising with him. I agree. I think that getting into the split now, really important games, I would start him. I would definitely start him because he's come on there, he's played the extra time, he's got a couple of goals, he looks sharp, so he must have, he must be fit. It's just how long you can get out of him. Surely you can get more than 30 minutes out of him. 100%.
But wouldn't Martin O'Neill have him for more than 30 minutes if that was the case?
Do you know what I think he's doing, Hugh? I think he's looked at certain games like last week against St Mirren at Celtic Park and thinking, right, we've got enough in their locker, we can nurse them through this. I think they've went to Hampden today, they've looked at the same scenario thinking, right, and they might do it against Falkirk, but I'm talking about when he comes up against Rangers and Hearts and whatever. I think he's got to take the chance and start him.
Oh, he has to. Again, we're coming to that point of the season, and Paul's right. There's some massive games coming up for Celtic, so you need to take the chance. Yes, he might break down again, might get injured, but you need to get more minutes. And I would be very surprised. Again, he's got a good 30 odd minutes in today. In his legs, and you'd be amazed if he can't last 60 minutes at this moment in time in the season. It's just about how long can you keep him fit. Can Celtic keep him fit to the end of the season, because that's going to be key for them.
You look at Celtic's last 4 matches, which he's featured in all of them. Hadn't played for, I think it was 4 games due to injury. Wasn't in the squad for 3 of those. Started against Dundee United in that defeat at Tannadice, lasted about an hour. In the last 3 games he's come off the bench for 2 games, was around half an hour, and then came off the bench in extra time, or just before extra time today. Is that enough to build up fitness to the point where he should be starting now?
Celtic play Falkirk next weekend, the start of the post-split fixtures. 5 games separating Rangers, Hearts and Celtic from the league title. If he doesn't start next week at Celtic Park, then clearly there is some problem that Celtic know about and the rest of us don't. Because if ever there was an opportunity, Falkirk shot their season to pieces yesterday with what John Maclean described as a rubbish performance against Dunfermline. If Iheanacho doesn't start next Saturday at Celtic Park, then it's medical, not tactical.
But he does make an impact when he comes off the bench. Martin O'Neill might look at that, especially in games, and lately Celtic have been involved in some tight games. You know what I mean? St Mirren at home 1-0, got an early goal, and the game finishes 1-0. So in big games and important games coming up, the next 5 is incredible for them. Then I think you've got to try and get more time out of him, because he is the best centre forward that Celtic have got available at this moment in time.
Not much competition, to be fair.
No, I agree with that, Hugh, but that's not his fault. But he's got to come in and stake a claim and say, right, I need to get more minutes.
But if he doesn't start next Saturday, it's medical, not tactical.
Is there a risk factor there that Celtic think if he starts a game and they give him an hour, that potentially he might not be able to play the next week? Does it make more sense to bring him off the bench and hopefully have him available for the next 5 league games, but just not playing from the start in all of them?
Yeah, listen, they'll be looking at them elements. Has he got enough game time? They'll only know the medical side of things. They'll be working hard with the sports scientists in there to make sure they try and reduce that risk of him breaking down again, because he's going to be so important for Celtic between now and the end of the season. So you're right, it might be slightly too early, maybe one more game that he comes off the bench, but they need to get him on the pitch from the start. I totally agree. If they can do that, and they're running out of games as well, so they need to roll the dice at some point.
Paul, do you think James Forrest could have a bigger part to play in the next 6 games that'll be with the Scottish Cup final added in?
I do, yeah, but I just want to go back to my initial point there. I think in any actual, if you can sub him on, you can sub him off. And I think it was Cammy earlier that said, I mean, surely at this point in the season we can get 60 minutes out of him. With only a few games left in the season, if we can get our most natural goal scorer up there, up front, because one thing as well that Celtic are lacking big time is goals. I mean, if this comes down to goal difference, we're not doing brilliant, but Celtic have started each first half well, and they're giving service in the middle, but there's just no one there to pick it up. And I think if any actually started, we'd have a couple of goals up in the first half of each game that we play, at least.
He did start at Tannadice in a game that Celtic lost 2-0.
Yeah, I heard the crowd chanting Martin O'Neill's name today once they were safely over the line. I have to go back to the point. Martin O'Neill knows better than Paul, than you or me or the Dazzler or Cammy. He knows better than anybody else what any actual can do for him. But he also knows what he can get out of him, when he can get it out of him, where he can get it out of him. And I go back to the point, if he doesn't start next Saturday against Falkirk, which is on paper the easiest of Celtic's 5 post-split matches, then only Martin O'Neill can solve the mystery of why.
Paul, what has today done for your thoughts on the title race? There are obviously some not so good parts, some good parts. What are you taking from it going back into league action?
I think Celtic just completely switched off for those last 2 goals. It really just seemed like they were just totally had lost the bottle. Substitutes came on, as you mentioned a minute ago. I think Forrest will have a big part to play. Yeah, he's an experienced player. He's won everything there is. He's the most decorated player in Celtic's history, I'm sure. So he's clearly making a difference when he comes on. Why don't we just get these guys on at the start, make a quick hit at the opposition as we have been doing in the first 45 minutes? We just haven't had anything to really show for it.
You just don't really see managers do that, do you? If a player is if they're only fit for half an hour, for example, of a game, it's never going to be the first half hour. I think if it was something that made sense to managers, you would see it more often. But if you are essentially sending a player out that you only think is fit for 30 minutes of action, it's going to be the last 30 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, and James Forrest has got a lot to offer, there's no doubt. And Paul's right, he's so experienced. I love the fact he come on today. He's very direct, as I say, for the cross in, for the goal, the third goal. It was old winger style play. That's what Forrest brings you. But I think Martin O'Neill looks at the big games and he's starting as a bit of pace with Yang down the right hand side, and if Maeda's not playing through the middle, he'll come off the left. And I think he looks at Forrest as that guy that, right, he's man back player as well. I can get him on the pitch and he can go and produce in the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it may be. So it'll be interesting to see how he uses them. There's no doubt about that. I do agree with Hugh. Hugh touched on that. Martin O'Neill would have looked at performance today. Defensively, it was too easy. It was far, far too easy for St Mirren. And you could see the goal coming. I think everybody could see that goal coming. And it was just a simple ball over the top, and the 2 defenders get caught, and it's a terrific finish. So there's a lot of work to be done with Celtic, but there's a lot of important games coming up and a lot of nervous games, not just for Celtic, for Hearts and Rangers as well.
You never know. The performances are sometimes unfathomable, and then you look at team selection from week to week. Tenecti doesn't go on the park against St Mirren last weekend, starts today. Schwanchara disappears. McGregor, the captain, off. Tierney, off. I know that Kieran Tierney finds it difficult to last games now, but you're still taking off your captain as well when the fat was in the fire. So they're a peculiar lot. The squad, everyone knows, it's an open secret, the squad needs massively overhauled.
I think McGregor must be carrying a little knock.
Yeah, I think Martin O'Neill said as much coming into this game.
Because as much as I don't think McGregor's had a brilliant season, he's such an important player, and he plays in all the games and he plays mostly all the minutes. They subbed him last week at Celtic Park. They've subbed him today. They know that they'll have to keep him as well for the last 5 games of the split. So overall as a team, Celtic right now, they're not firing on all cylinders. There's no doubt about that. And getting into these 5 games coming up, The only advantage for me that they've got over other two teams is the fact that they play more home games.
Well, thank you to Paul. 0141 951 1025 on the phones. We are here until 6 o'clock, so get your calls in now.
Lots of men out there want to feel more confident in the bedroom. In fact, 1 in 5 men have issues as they get older. That's why MedExpress is here to provide support in minutes through a free online consultation. By completing the short online consultation, they'll suggest the right treatment for your concerns, all from the comfort of your home. And you know you're in the right place. They've been one of the country's leading online pharmacies since 2013 with over 1.5 million customers. Their UK-based clinical team will support you every step of the way and send your medication straight to your door. And the best bit is the whole process is online, so you don't even have to visit your GP. So no more planning or pressure, just confidence when you need it most. Visit medexpress.co.uk to check your eligibility and get 30% off with the code Super Scoreboard. That's Super Scoreboard, all one word, when you check out at medexpress.co.uk.
At Ocado, you'll save 25% on your first shop and get free delivery, which means if you were to buy a 4-cheese pizza, you'd basically be getting one of the cheeses for free. Save and splurge at Ocado, the online supermarket.
Geographical and other restrictions. Min spend £60 and charges apply. Discount available on food. New customers only. Max saving £20. Terms at ocado.com.
Buzzing for the game this week. I want to hear what my mates are saying. I want to tell them they're delusional. I want to tell them who'll score first. I want to call the half-time score and the full-time score. And when our kid pipes up and says, "Want to bet?" I'll stop. Think about it. Check my limits. Check how much I've played. And maybe I'll think, nah, not today, mate. Sometimes the best bet is the one you don't make. Gamble responsibly. Betfred. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
Switch to Plusnet's award-winning full fibre from just $22.99 a month. Our sweet deal gets you fast and reliable broadband with no activation fee, with speeds up to 900 megabits. Ooh, feels like a sugar rush. Full fibre that's full of value. That's a plus. Offer ends 6th of May. 24 months, $26.99 from the 31st of March 2027. $30.99 from the 31st of March 2028. New customers only. 62% UK availability. Terms apply.
What's on TV? The answer is a lot. There's never been more choice over what to put on the box with an abundance of great new shows, but you can miss them all if you don't know where to look. And that's where the Pilot TV podcast comes in, your essential guide to every show that matters. Each week we sift through the very best in prestige TV to help you decide what's worth spending your time on and what isn't. So join me, James Dyer, as well as venerable TV critics Boyd Hilton and Kay Ribeiro, and let us help take the stress out of your downtime. The Pilot TV podcast, because you can't watch everything.
After the action, it's your reaction. 0141 951 1025. Clyde 1 Super Scoreboards open line.
Celtic 6, St Mirren 2, the full-time score from Hampden in the Scottish Cup semi-final today in a game that went to extra time. 2-2 after 90 minutes, Celtic scoring 4 in extra time, and they will meet Dunfermline in the Scottish Cup final after they beat Falkirk on penalties yesterday. So it will officially be Martin O'Neill against Neil Lennon in the Scottish Cup final. Neil Lennon spoke about that yesterday. We'll hear from him a bit later on. He was saying it will be emotional if it was to happen. We now know it will happen. I'm sure Martin O'Neill will have an interesting take on it too.
Yeah, you know, he was almost visibly moved by the thought of meeting Neil Lennon manager to manager in a cup final. I don't know how individuals handle that kind of thing. You know, Martin O'Neill paid £6 million to bring Neil Lennon into Scottish football. Neil Lennon repaid him by being an outstanding Celtic player. Neil Lennon, as a Celtic player and manager, has won the Scottish Cup 4 times as a player, 4 times as a manager. The whole thing is just dripping with sentimentality, but there's a serious professional side to it, because Celtic by that time might have failed to win the title, might need the Scottish Cup to avoid a trophyless season, and it's not Neil Lennon's job to protect Celtic's reputation.
Brian is a Celtic fan in Moss Park. A lot to get through, Brian. What stood out to you from today's game?
Do you know, to me, he's been the best. He's been a great servant for Celtic. James Forrest, he's been there like 18 years, and he was actually wanted to leave a few years ago because he felt he wasn't contributing enough to the team. and he's just been an absolute hero. I mean, I don't know why Steve Clark never played him the last Euros against Hungary. The guy had a great final of the season, end of the season. It's right man the goals. Forrest is just a great Celtic player, a great legend, and I love the guy. I'm not saying the weird twee, but he's been so good for Celtic.
Yeah, he did have a really good end to that season that Brian's talking about, the 2023-24 season. He'd been written off by many. People thought that he maybe wasn't able to make the same impact that he used to. Had a brilliant end to the season and ended up getting picked for Steve Clark's Euros squad. Do you think he's capable of having another run? I'm not saying, getting into the World Cup squad, but another run similar to that where he can make an impact and really be a game changer.
I think he can be a game changer. You've seen today, the minute he come on the park, everything about him was direct. He created the third goal with a brilliant play down the right hand side. He just doesn't play now as a winger. You've seen him coming inside and causing problems as well, picking up good positions. He's got bags and bags of experience. You can't buy that. I don't think he'll be a starter in the next 5 games, right? But I would certainly have a lot of confidence in James Forrest coming off the bench and creating something for him.
I like the course and distance aspect of it all. As I say, when McGregor and Tierney went off today, I thought that's taking an awful lot of experience out of that Celtic side when they really need help here. But James Forrest comes into that category but can't play 90 minutes anymore. However, he has a major contribution. When you look at Tinekti, Mvuka can't even be trusted to play now. They had a look at him and thought, no. James Forrest has a major contribution to make, but again, Martin O'Neill's in a position where they're all at the tail end of their career and they have to be used sparingly.
Do you think that James Forrest will be starting games between now and the end of the season, Brian?
It won't. Of course, he won't start. But he's just a great guy to bring on. He just gives his all for the team, and it's like I've never seen Forrest having a. He's rarely in a bad game. He's a couple against Rangers, of course, but no, he gives his all, and he's got class. And he's just like, I just think he's like the way he actually wanted to leave Celtic in the past, but because he felt it wasn't good enough, not because he wanted to move, he just felt it wasn't good enough for Celtic. He wanted to actually leave. That shows you the character of the guy.
Yeah, but when they've got players who are unworthy of playing for Celtic, and it's Celtic's fault for signing them or bringing them on loan, Forrest is deeply committed to Celtic. It's just a case of how often you can take him back to the well.
Brian, what does this do for your thoughts for the rest of the season? Celtic, of course, into a Scottish Cup final, a very good chance to win that trophy. How do you rate Celtic's chances now after seeing that today in the title race?
Can I be quick one about you there? Bring game to the well. James always goes to the well and always survives from the well. But I think like guys connecting, obviously Bella it's just not just. I actually thought a few weeks ago we'd lost the league and I've seen the fixtures and we've got 4 home games. Of course we can't score goals apart from today, which is not in the league. Didn't help the goal average. Goals for. But I think I'm hopeful, but I'm not confident. I would say 50% we've chance to win the league. But I do utilise James Forrest when needed.
Where do Celtic strike the balance of trying to take the positives from the game, which are of course that first half of extra time, and trying to use those negatives and see what they can do to make sure that they're not conceding goals like they did?
I think the positives, even look at the first half, they were in control of the first half. They didn't play their brilliant best, but they were certainly in control of the game. They got that early goal and then they get the goal right on half time that settles them down. I think the intensity will be what Martin O'Neill will say. When they drop the intensity, they're vulnerable. They'll lower other teams into the game. That's what happened today, and you've got to give St Mirren credit for that. But certainly when you look at the goals defensively, they need to be much better. That second goal, for me, just shouldn't happen. At that time of the game, you need to be switched on. You get your job done. You see the game through, and you don't need to go extra time. But again, players switching off, not playing with that intensity, that mindset of just getting the job done. So there's a lot of positives. I think the substitutions today was a real positive for Celtic. That when Martin O'Neill makes them subs, they had the impact he was looking for. And again, it'll show that them guys between now and the end of the season are going to play a huge part in what happens with Celtic.
Well, thank you to Brian. After the break, we are going to hear from St Mirren manager Craig McLeish. He's been talking about the game, speaking about the goalkeeping situation as well. I think Martin O'Neill is going to speak to the media imminently as well, so hopefully we'll hear from him before 6 o'clock, and we'll hear more from you. 0141951 1025.
Changes in sexual performance are more common than most people realise, and support doesn't need to feel awkward. With MedExpress, everything happens privately online. Start by completing a short consultation reviewed by UK-registered clinicians. If eligible, treatment is delivered discreetly to your home, with ongoing support whenever you need it. You're not alone in this. Visit medexpress.co.uk/podcast to learn more.
At Lidl, we're giving you 50% off a fruit or veg item on your next shop. Just scan the Lidl Plus app at checkout, and when you scan, you'll be in with a chance to win your whole shop back. Open Lidl Plus and start saving today. Lidl, more to value. 18 plus GB residents, various prices available, subject to availability. Ends 30th of 5th, 26. Full T's and C's apply. See lidl.co.uk/LP-terms.
This season, I want to feel it from the start, from the whistle, from the first touch. Want to beat the odds, want to take an early lead, want to see why he costs so much money, want to shout pen before the ref is even called in, want to see the call go our way for once. I want to hear their lot go quiet, want to see them leave early, want to drop into the group chat to tell them I've seen the future, want to hear them agree, and if not I'll say, want to bet? Bet Fred. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Get the Google Pixel 10 Pro XL on the UK's best network. Press to talk it out live with Gemini, your AI assistant from Google, and find out how to revive that plant. Yep, we've all been there. Plus, you'll stay connected even when you run out of data. Get yours on EE today.
Results for illustrative purposes and may vary. Check responses for accuracy. Eligibility, credit check and terms apply. Credit by EE Limited. Verify best network at ee.co.uk/claims.
You can't do much in under 5 minutes. Boil an egg? Sure. Cook a roast dinner? No chance. But comparing car insurance prices with mustard.co.uk? Easy. See what you could save in just a few minutes. Click mustard.co.uk. Authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. See website for details.
After they play, you have your say. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboards Open Line.
Dalziel, Cammy and Hugh Keevins giving their reaction to Celtic's Scottish Cup semi-final win over St Mirren. It was 2-2 after 90 minutes and it finished 6-2 to Celtic after extra time. I'm not sure any of us have really seen anything like that. I'm not sure many of you out there have either, so let us know your thoughts. 0141 951 1025. Let's hear from St Mirren interim manager Craig McLeish, shall we? We have asked him about his thoughts on the game and of course the goalkeeping situation.
First of all, I'm so proud of the group with how they went about kind of large parts of the game today to lose a goal in the manner we did right at the start of the game, to then lose our goalkeeper early on in the game. I thought we reacted well to it. We settled after kind of the first 15-20 minutes or so. Losing the goal in half time's an absolute hammer blow for us. We had to regroup at half time. I thought our second half performance was excellent. We made some changes towards the end of the game to get back into the game. We brought some more attacking players on the pitch. We changed shape. That allowed us to kind of take it to extra time, and we were hoping to kind of continue that momentum and ride that on into extra time. I think if the 90 minutes, if there's an extra 5-10 minutes, we were the team in the ascendancy at that point. But the risk to make those changes and get back into the game probably then catches out in extra time. So I think he said when he went to kick, I think he's caught the ground. He's kind of pulled his thigh muscle. So we need to assess him over the next few days and see how that looks.
At the incident for the goal?
I think so from what he said, but that was a kind of brief conversation. I'm not really sure. Grant comes in and I think that was his debut for us. I brought him to the club probably when he was maybe about 13. He's a fantastic young goalkeeper. We've got really high hopes for him. He didn't deserve that scoreline and end up the way he performed and dealt with a lot of things, because he looked nervy when he first came on, built himself into the game, made some good saves.
Could you go along with that? Didn't deserve that to be on the end of that type of scoreline.
Yeah. Again, we're talking about a young 17-year-old kid thrown in. Mentioned it before, start of the week, probably going along enjoying the day as a third choice goalkeeper. He then finds he's still on the pitch after about 15-20 minutes. And for me, just his mentality to be able to handle such a big occasion. I thought he did fantastic in the game. He had a couple of really good saves. He looked assured at the back. His kicking was good. So yeah, listen, it was a harsh scoreline on him. And I mentioned before as well that I don't think the experienced guys in front of him helped him, because they could have again got close at the shots, made it more difficult for Celtic. But he did great today, and he can be very proud of his performance.
Kevin is a Celtic fan up next. Kevin, how are you?
Not bad, thanks guys. Not bad. Yourself?
Good, thank you. What's your main takeaway from today's action?
Probably the biggest takeaway for me is that I know that Celtic clearly have issues both on and off the field that they need to get sorted in the close season. But one of the big things for me, and I'm in agreement with Charlie Mulgrew and what he said last week, is that there needs to be a proper succession plan here for when Callum McGregor isn't able to be fit. Because you see, as soon as you take him off the day, the team becomes disjointed. There's nobody to put out fires. There's nobody to give you that wee bounce pass just to keep possession and keep the ball ticking over. I know he's been under a lot of scrutiny recently from fans online and things like that, but you actually see how big a miss he is when you take him off, because the team, the whole flow of the game completely changed when Engels and McGregor came off, but especially McGregor, because you don't have anybody that's willing to take the ball under pressure to help you out, and it's only life that he's going to end up tiring, because of the amount of games he's played. 60 games over the last 10 years for Celtic or whatever it is every season. At some point he's going to burn out. I think you're starting to see that, and I think Celtic have a big issue and a big problem and task in hand to replace him.
Before you get the succession plan with regard to Callum McGregor, you need a succession plan for the manager's job. So that's Celtic's problem, Kevin. They have no plan about anything. And
I agree, and that's why I was saying, they have a lot of issues. They have a lot of issues, but somebody that's been working within the club has got to have already something in place to say, here's the next three options of the type of Callum McGregor. You're not going to get Callum McGregor,
no,
but there needs to be something.
Celtic have never really found that option, have they? Over the years, it's always been a talking point that there's not really been anyone that can step in when Callum McGregor is out. You've seen Celtic have tried to recruit players, and I'm thinking of guys like Ismaila Soro, Oliver Abildgaard came in at one point. But how tough is it for Celtic to find that player that's going to be a quality option as Callum McGregor's essentially backup or his next option? But just on this point that's been made, and we'll get to the manager situation afterwards.
But surely the new manager picks who's Callum McGregor's successor.
Well, the Celtic have an ex-manager, because surely they need to still succession plan for players as well.
Therefore,
Celtic can't just wait for a new manager to agree a deal and then start their summer planning then,
but that's
because
exactly
they'd be way behind.
That's
but we don't know
what
that.
They're doing.
But we don't know that for certain. Surely there's constantly work at every football club going on behind the scenes to try and work out players and options, regardless of who the next manager is going to be. So that work will be getting done by analysts and scouts. And
are they the same analysts and scouts who brought in Wilfred Nancy?
There's another problem as well.
Yeah, the recruitment's been really, really poor.
But what I was going to say is, see, trying to find someone that is going to play that role, because if Callum McGregor is going to play 60 games a season, you're essentially either going to pay a big fee for someone that's going to spend most of the season on the bench, or is someone going to want to come in if they're not going to be guaranteed game time because they're going to be sitting behind Callum McGregor? How do they strike that balance?
Well, that's for the recruitment to go out and see. They've got to go and work at that. It's very hard to replace Callum McGregor. I don't think he's had a particularly good season this season. And I think it's just because of the situation at Celtic, the way with obviously the manager Wilfred Nancy, and then Martin O'Neill having to come back to Brendan Rodgers. So it's been an up and down season for Celtic, off and on the pitch. But I didn't look at Callum McGregor today and think, oh, hold on a minute, he's went off the pitch. Celtic are really missing him.
Celtic scored 4 goals when Callum McGregor was off the pitch.
I think Callum McGregor is probably carrying a little niggle, an injury, which Martin O'Neill's obviously said, and they're just nursing him through. But you're right, there've got to come a time, because Callum McGregor will not just keep going on and on and on. There'll come a time when they have to go, whether they change different styles or whatever it may be, they have to go and get players in that position.
It's difficult though. Again, you're talking about Callum McGregor, probably one of the best Celtic players in recent history. how good he's been over the years. So to replace that isn't easy. It's not easy. You might not get it right the first time you bring in players. You mentioned they have tried to bring in players, they've not found that player yet. So yes, the recruitment's been really, really poor. We can't get away from that it's been terrible this season. But I just don't think it's easy to replace such a big player. You're replacing a big player and a captain as well. So it's a big job for Celtic. They've got a lot to do over the summer. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I don't think Callum McGregor, listen, he's not the best season, but I wouldn't write him off yet either. I still think he's got a bit to go.
Can I remind you that in January, after the horror story that was Wilfred Nancy, and in the middle of a season where Celtic were clinging on, Celtic in the January transfer window brought in 5 loanees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loanees. And there's no plan about succession. There's no plan about a new manager. There's no plan about anything.
Well, a lot of people agreed with that, Hugh, at the time because of the situation with the manager. So people were saying, well, the best way to get down for Celtic is the loan market, because at the end of the season, you don't know the new manager would want to keep them, or, you know, you're spending a lot of money in transfers. Celtic have certainly spoiled a lot of money, wasted a lot of money, as we see with some of the players have just not been up to it. They've not been good enough. And even the 5 loan players, there's not many of them you would say have been a real success, would you?
Well, Kevin is asking a very simple question about McGregor and who assumes the McGregor role. And incidentally, McGregor, like James Forrest, time catches up, and it's just a fact of life. The body ceases to be what it once was. But Kevin's honest inquiry about what's the succession plan, there's none.
Kevin?
It's hard to disagree with you. You know, and I get that. But surely a club like Celtic and an establishment where, you know, they class themselves of, you know, being at the higher end of the scale in the sense of how well they're ran inside. Surely somebody, whether it's Sean Maloney, whether it's Martin O'Neill, you know, just pinpointing these players, because obviously we've seen O'Neill and what's his name, the coach,
Mark Fothering.
Game. Aye, Fozzie out watching games and things. You're thinking, surely somebody's taking control of this now. I also go with Gordon Dale saying don't write McGregor off. I'm far from writing him off. I think he's the best player in the squad. He's technically gifted. He gives you a wee bit of energy. He gives you a bit of calm on the pitch. He plays the game at his pace. He can slow it down. He can quicken it up. Absolutely. I just mean, when he got taken off today, you've seen that there became panic. There was less mobility in midfield. There was less options to play inside. Celtic lose two chances in quick succession by a wide midfielder playing a ball inside the pitch, which you would expect McGregor to pick up, but nobody's there to pick up the wee passes. And it's like somebody needs to find the successor here, because 50, 60 games a season is going to catch up, and he's only, you know, he had that Achilles injury which kept him out for a wee bit. Celtic seemed to get through it, which was fine, but that's not going to last. You can see that's not going to last, and players are not trusting of the process as much as it is, and he's the only guy on the pitch that's going to bring calm at this moment in time for me.
Thank you to Kevin. Let's hear from Martin O'Neill, shall we? Here was his general reaction to the game.
Got off to a great start. Dyson closing down and scoring the goal, and I was hoping then that we would take the initiative. I thought we had a lot of possession. I mentioned to you the other day, sometimes maybe we should try and look forward a wee bit more quickly, but overall we were in good control of the game. Then their first corner, Sinisala has to make a really great save, and I thought that gave St Mirren a big boost, and because the game wasn't out of sight. Anyway, having said this, we scored just on the half-time whistle, and I just never felt that. I just never felt really comfortable, even at 2-0. St Mirren come back into the game, 2-1, hopefully trying to see it through. They get the equaliser. Where I was really pleased about is that naturally extra time, when the players, you know, naturally really disappointed, having to raise themselves again for the extra time.
He was also speaking about a couple of players. First of all, James Forrest and his contract situation.
I would like to keep James for one more year at least, and so that he could see his career through at the football club. Yeah, I would be asking the board, I'm sure, today, and I think James would stay for another year. But yeah, that would be. He has continued. He's 34, isn't he? 34. With just a little burst, the 1v1s. Sorry, I'm reenacting it there. And he's given us something. He has changed a number of games for us.
Almost sounded as if Martin O'Neill's planning on staying for another year, the way he said that. Do you think James Forrest could get another year?
Yeah, I do. I think it's very hard to buy that experience. He knows the club. He's well loved round about the place. He's a very good professional. And you've seen today, he comes on, he still can make an impact. So I don't think it's just a sympathy contract. It's because probably James Forrest, day in, day out, has shown that he's still up for it. He's still working hard in training. He's still a fit lad. And as I said today, when he came on, the one thing he was positive. He got his shoulder down, ducked away from the defender, great bit of wing play, got a nice ball in and a goal. I think he's got a lot to offer for us.
And finally, Martin O'Neill was also speaking about Kelechi Iheanacho's fitness.
He says he is completely fit, and I'm not completely sure. But he was brilliant for us. Brilliant. He took the goals magnificently. He can hold it. You can see why he's had a career.
I mean, players will claim that they are fit if they want to play football.
Yeah.
Martin O'Neill, Sean Maloney, Mark Fotheringham see him in training every single day. They'll know his running stats. They'll have a lot more information than we do. Doesn't sound as if he's convinced.
Yeah, listen, I think it's certainly Iheanacho's saying that he's fit, injury free. I would presume, and that's what he's meaning. Martin O'Neill sounds as if he's, as you mentioned, watching him in training and maybe doesn't think his fitness, his sharpness is completely there at the moment. But I think listen, he knows how important a player he's going to be for him between now and the end of the season. So it'll be a whole management thing between Martin O'Neill and Iheanacho of how many games he can play, when he can start games, when he can come on, when he can be rested. And it's just about managing him because he's going to be so important.
He scored 2 goals today. They have Falkirk at home next week. If he doesn't play from the start, then Martin O'Neill doesn't think he's fit. End of story. And will only play him when he thinks he can get enough minutes out of him. But it's a very peculiar situation where you have a vastly experienced player saying to a vastly experienced manager, I am fully fit, and the manager saying, I don't believe him.
01419511025. John is a Celtic fan in Falkirk. John, what did you take away from today?
Hi panel, how are you doing? Thanks for taking my call. There's a few things I took away from today. First, delighted to be in the final, of course, but I wanted to make my point to Hugh, if I can. And it's on the background of, I guess it's twofold, a bit of journalism and a bit of refereeing and officiating to see what the panel think of it. Now, I'm sure everyone's aware that Michael Stewart on Premier Sports was unable to attend the game for various reasons. I believe the suggestion is that he was perhaps overcritical of officiating in Scotland. So I'd be very curious to know if Hugh agrees with what a lot of people feel is a bit of an overreach from the SFA. But within that context, I think if you remember, guys, watching the game, in the first half, not long after Celtic scored, Mark O'Hara jumped up, thought the ball was going out of play, and grabbed the ball with both hands on the same side as the linesman and the fourth official, which by any manner of means is a yellow card and a foul. And this wasn't a marginal decision. It was clear as day. And not only was it not a yellow or a foul, it was just given as a throw-in. So I'd be curious for what the panel think about what's the general state of what we're doing, and has Michael Stewart been unfortunate in his suspension, shall we say?
Having been banned by many clubs over the years, bans don't work. and I think for the National Association to impose a ban, which then allows Michael Stewart's employers on TV to make a fool of the SFA by having him in the car park at one stage with his jacket over his head, thereby really having a laugh at the SFA's expense. We on this programme have been highly critical of referees, and you highlight the Mark O'Hara situation. Of course it should have been a booking, and of course it shouldn't have been a throw-in. And why these things happen is bewildering. You can only be grateful it didn't affect anything, no material influence on anything, and Matthew McDermott otherwise handled the game perfectly. But you know, it's a free world, and if you think the referee's having a shocker, then you're entitled to say so within the boundaries of the law as it applies to the written and spoken word.
Yeah, there have been some, big decisions that people haven't been happy with this season. The one with Mark O'Hara in the first half is not going to be anything that has a telling impact on the game. However, it was just a bit of a strange one, wasn't it? Because you don't see it often. He clearly knew the ball was going out of play, but it hadn't gone out of play yet. He jumps up, tries to catch it with both hands, but the ball is still in play and it goes out for a throw. It's just one of those ones you can't really account for at all.
Listen, it's not going to impact anything, but it was a bizarre situation because he certainly looks as if he's in play, but the referee's obviously interpreted that he's not in play, and he's gave the throw in because he's not gave a foul, because if he gives a foul he has to give a yellow card. But it was just a strange situation. I thought the referee had a good game today, actually. He was very, very quiet, which is always a good thing. They weren't talking about him too much, so I felt as if he handled the game really well. That was only that one incident, but yeah, listen, for me the refereeing's not been great this season. I think there's been some strange decisions and some poor decisions, but it's today I felt the referee done okay.
I've got to back him up. One thing I would always do in this show is stick up for referees and officials. I think they got a hard time. I think it's a hard job.
Yep.
But I think the standard this year, and I don't think VAR's helped them, because I think they depend on it too much now. They're waiting for it to be re-refereed the game. So no, I don't think the officials have been great this year at all.
Well, thank you to John. 01419511025. Final chance to get your calls in next.
It's Clyde One Super Scoreboards Open Line. 0141 951 1025.
The 23rd of May 2026 is the date Celtic fans and Dunfermline fans need to put in their diary. That is the Scottish Cup final. Celtic with quite a crazy win over St Mirren today. 2-2 after 90 minutes, 6-2 after extra time. Not as exciting yesterday at the National Stadium, but there was a dramatic end. Dunfermline beating rivals Falkirk after a penalty shootout. So that will be the Scottish Cup final. Any final thoughts? 0141 951 1025. We've heard from a couple of the managers involved in today's matches. Why don't we hear from some of the managers involved yesterday, starting with Neil Lennon. He was talking about the final and, of course, coming up against Martin O'Neill.
That's as good as it gets. We've beaten Hibs, Aberdeen and Falkirk now. So we're here, believe it or not, I can't believe I'm saying it, we're in the cup final. Again, emotional if it happens. It could possibly be Martin's last game as a manager, and for me and him to go, I've never done it before, but I mean, it'd be a hell of a story.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, it is going to be some story now.
Yeah, no, it's going to be an incredible story. You can hear Neil Lennon getting emotional just speaking about it there. But listen, yesterday, that's a fantastic achievement for Neil Lennon and Dunfermline to get through to a final. He mentions the teams that they've beat, that they've not just walked into this final, they've had a tough run. Hibs and then Aberdeen, and then obviously beating Falkirk yesterday in the semi-final. Just an incredible run, an incredible story, and it's going to be a fantastic occasion for all Dunfermline fans, and I'm pretty sure Neil Lennon will be looking forward to it as well.
All we heard was Roger Hannah today telling us that Neil was taking or getting photographed with Celtic fans. He's a Celtic legend in their eyes. But remember, on the 23rd of May, his obligation is, whether it finishes Martin O'Neill's career on a low note or not, it's immaterial. Neil Lennon's obligation is to win the cup for Dunfermline, and what a story that would be.
Yeah, it is going to be a massive day for Dunfermline. Yesterday was a massive day for Dunfermline, a massive day for Neil Lennon as well, and he was dedicating that win yesterday to his late father Jerry.
Yeah, I was thinking about my father. Lost him in December. He'd have loved this, so I was for him. Biggest influence in my life, not professionally and personally. So he'd have loved this. He'd have been outside with a cigarette, his fedora, his walking stick, telling everyone I told you. So he'd have loved it. So yeah, I'm hoping the family take a bit of solace in this today, and it's been difficult for us, but he's always been with me. I feel dead calm when I think about him. So again, I've lost him. It's a huge loss to me, but it's been I feel him sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not been an easy few months for Neil Lennon.
No, as I say, the whole situation is dripping in sentimentality and emotion. The two of them, Martin O'Neill and Neil Lennon, will have to deal with the professional aspect of it all. It's a cup final to be won, and I knew as soon as Neil hit the deck yesterday at time up, the emotion that he was displaying, I knew there had to be some reason behind it all. And then he said it was his dad Jerry. So as I say, wonderful story in a series of wonderful stories. And now on the 23rd of May, all sentimentality and emotion has to be put to one side, and a football match has to be played.
Final thoughts on the phones are going to come from Ewan, who's a St Mirren fan in Paisley. Ewan, how are you feeling?
It's a tough one today to take, especially the manner that we played in the second half. I thought St Mirren were by far the better team in the second half. First half, not so much. But as the second half goes, I don't think St Mirren can get any better. 6 minutes totally killed us in the first half extra time. But I've got to say, full credit goes to Craig McLeish, and especially the 17-year-old boy who came on in goals. Thought he'd done really well, and especially I was at the game today, especially Alex Gogic and Miguel Ferreckleton, who somehow never got man of the match, but Dyson Maeder somehow does.
Well, Dyson Maeder probably got it because of the work he put in, and they tend to go with the winning side. Dyson Maeder from literally the first minute was heavily influential. I think the most important thing for St Mirren now is recovery in the psychological and physical sense, because you've got 5 games. Kilmarnock are in there with you. I think we can discount Aberdeen. We'll see how Dundee are after the Tayside derby next Sunday. But never mind who get man of the match. Who gets man of the match the next 5 games that St Mirren play, that's important.
Yeah, a lot of big games coming up for St Mirren. I think they can take a lot of confidence from the second half. I think we were all saying at half time that 2-0 down, you're against Celtic at Hampden, you're thinking, it could get worse here, it could go 3-4 and it's a real poor day. But they showed a lot of courage, they tweaked one or two things, they got the ball forward, and even as the clock was ticking down, you always had a feeling that there was one more goal and it was going to come from St Mirren, and it was a terrific finish to take it into extra time. What happened in extra time? Well, just one of those situations. Celtic just went into a different gear and battered 4 goals by St Mirren before they could get their concentration again. The tie was away from them.
Yeah, is it a strange one, Ewan, because you say there were real positives to take despite the scoreline? Have your belief that St Mirren can stay up this season, have they been helped, hindered by today, changed at all?
I don't know. I genuinely think the players have to take a massive positive from that game today. I've got to say, before Craig McLeish came in, we had Stephen Robinson, who done us really well. I've got to say, probably one of the best managers I've seen in my lifetime. But today, 2-0 down, I don't see a Stephen Robinson team coming back from that. We played from the goalkeeper, we played football, we worked our way through the lines, and we hit our strikers, and I thought we were really good. I just think the players need to dig in over the next few games. I think we can take points off the teams at the bottom of the league. I know a lot of teams say that Kilmarnock are coming into whatever they seem to be coming into, but I think St Mirren have got that little plus on their side that a lot of the players have been there and done that. in that League Cup final as well.
Can I throw a quick one at you before the programme ends?
Yeah, of course.
It's becoming abundantly clear that nobody in newspapers, radio or television knows what they're talking about anymore. So, do you have any explanation to offer us, Ewan, over 4 goals being conceded in the first half of extra time? Because no one can possibly say they saw it coming.
No, not of course, Hugh. Like, you've got to put your credit to Celtic. They're a never given inside. That first goal goes in. I think actually me and my dad were at the game. We both said when Mandron scores in the 91st minute, it was as if the St Mirren players had done it. We've been there, we've done it. And then that extra time, I think we just lost a little bit of pace, a little bit of quality. And I think Celtic just came out that first goal, and then the second goal I thought was a little bit on the kind of lucky side, but the second goal goes in 4-2. Yeah, it's game over from there, I think.
Ewan, how are you feeling about the goalkeeping situation? I think Craig McLeish said after the game that Shamal George, Ryan Mullen will need to be assessed. They may even need to look at an emergency loan. Would you be happy with the youngster playing the rest of the season after his performance today?
I don't see why he can't. He played today and he showed. I actually think he showed real bravery. On the pitch, he took the ball off the centre halves. He was dealing with it first time. I've got to say, I think Ryan Mullen has to deal with it first time. In the first 30 seconds of the game, you can't be taking a touch, especially against a quality player like Dalziel. A lot of St Mirren fans are questioning his ability, but Shamal George is a real big miss, and I think the 17-year-old deserves his chance.
Too big an ask for me.
Yeah.
I think it's too important for St Mirren, especially the position they're in. Listen, young lad can feel very proud of his performance. To get thrown into a game like that today was massive for him. But going the next 5 games, too important to stay in the league.
Well, thank you to Ewan. Just finally, Hugh, how do you sum up what we've seen across this weekend?
I sum it up by saying this season in Scottish football has defied all logic and reason, and I look forward to the next 5 games, top 6 and bottom 6, because believe me, anything could happen.
Exactly. The Scottish Cup semi-finals are over, and now it's in to the post-split fixtures. So many people have been waiting for these post-split fixtures to come around, and that is what's up next in the Premiership after a pretty crazy weekend of Scottish Cup semi-final action. It will be Celtic against Dunfermline on the 23rd of May, but lots to come before that. That's all for this evening, but the guys will be back from 6 o'clock until 8 o'clock tomorrow. But thank you to Gordon Dalziel, Cammy Bell and Hugh Keevins in the studio, but more importantly, thank you to you for listening in and getting involved on the phones. It's Gary Spence up next with an extra hour of his Sunday night anthems.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard podcast was brought to you by White & Mackay, a calm head amongst the chaos. 18 plus. Keep the heat and always drink responsibly.
Switch to Plusnet's award-winning full fibre from just $22.99 a month. Our sweet deal gets you fast and reliable broadband with no activation fee, with speeds up to 900 megabits. Ooh, feels like a sugar rush. Full fibre that's full of value. That's a plus. Offer ends 6th of May. 24 months, $26.99 from the 31st of March 2027. $30.99 from the 31st of March 2028. New customers only. 62% UK availability. Terms apply.
This season, I want to feel it from the start, from the whistle, from the first touch. Want to beat the odds, want to take an early lead, want to see why he costs so much money, want to shout pen before the ref is even called in, want to see the call go our way for once. I want to hear their lot go quiet, want to see them leave early, want to drop into the group chat to tell them I've seen the future, want to hear them agree, and if not I'll say, want to bet? Bet Fred. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.